My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. Alrighty, this is the P.O.C. It is 1:12 p.m. on August 12, 2026. That's documentation. And that is, again, the people of the state. That's a legal reference to the government that is stalking vicariously as an entity, even an individual. It's an entity. H Street and Vine Avenue is stalking. And this is the evidence, which is speaking to the gang stalking airline companies as well. At this same address, 303 H Street, Southwest Airlines is stalking. United Airlines is stalking in the sky space where there are no terminals vehicles where they're taking off to a destination with passengers aboard. Moreover, they are doing so where the fake sun is over me, as I documented during the 7 a.m. hour. It is 1 o'clock. You're talking about what is nature, science, that's prosecuting the people of the state who are engaged in the unabated program of psychological torture while they stalk you and conduct themselves unpersuasively, as you now see. What they, how they behave is not evidence of innocence or ignorance. It's evidence of mental instability, psychopathic disorders that are shared by who you also know are demons, engaging in the pattern of conduct of what is referred to as gang stalking in the vernacular. It is federal group stalking and monitoring. At 1:12 p.m., while the entity is taking this same path, stalking by the gang stalkers of the Ontario Fire Department, the gang stalkers of American Medical Response at This is the Grove, where the entity is stalking through its employees, stalking while they're coming up and picking up the elderly Asian that are engaged in stalking by standing on the sidewalk under that fake sun. The airline industry stalking with the people of the state, doing so while that phenomenon remains over me. License 6RMT500 in a landmark, and where the entity is engaging in what is criminal activity that it is also embarrassed for, it commits more incriminating activity, which is speaking to when companies that are being prosecuted, its employees are demons that are gang stalking, conspiring murder, and that corporation is going to be federally prosecuted. P.O.C. To engage in more stalking is not evidence that you're not stalking. That is Alaska Airlines that maintains no schedule that are coming from any terminal, moreover, to any destination. There's no passengers on that plane, and there is also no legitimate operation of the airport in Ontario that's gang stalking under a fake sun. This is the entity that is monitoring evidence. That's what Alaska Airlines is speaking to, and Alaska Airlines is engaged in the criminal conspiracy to commit murder, stalking, and the psychopathic method of using commercial planes, which you also know they use helicopters, while the entity keeps the fake sun on the opposite side of the street at Woodside Senior Apartments, where the gang stalker Frank Nieto is engaging in what is the pattern of conduct of harassment because he is humiliated while I am telling him about himself, and it's all public information. So that's why you have the entity getting unreasonably perturbed and hostile, because it's not a private conversation. And that's not my problem that the rest of the demons and you are embarrassed because you leave nasty things on the toilet, etc. The entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct, and the entity that's engaging in surveillance is being humiliated by its own pattern of conduct. And the entity does the same thing when Alaska Airlines commits the criminal activity in the video evidence, prosecuting the entire entity. This is the P.O.C. This is the entity stalking 06205 Edward 3. This is surveillance by those that are also prospective immigrants. They're going to be deported. The companies are going to be federally prosecuted. This is where the entity is keeping the fake sun moving over me. It's not in Upland, California. It's not over the Ovid Family Community Library. It's not in any natural environment going to help the people of the state who are stalking, engage in federal stalking, engage in what is pathic behavior, surveillance, stalking as a community in that supernatural environment, in this environment at this same location during the 7 a.m. hour, stalking with impossible light. That's what I documented. The old white lady doing in the white SUV that was parked illegally here, and the entities engaging what is stalking. That was the Grove apartment complex stalking. Okay, that video will be juxtaposed. The entities stalking my commercial planes, that will be juxtaposed with this, and this is the entity that's doing so at 1:15 as I take the same route to Upland Public Library, where the evidence is showing a whole bunch of demons, gang stalkers, are inside of the Upland Public Library at the same time under the phenomenon of a fake sun. And this is recognizing the mentally ill that are going to be subject to martial law. Pacing. License 9VQS155 and EU04B02. That's a white male with a paper plate. Stalking, and that is also engaging in surveillance with its employees that are being prosecuted. All right, driving under the fake sun, doing so at the intersection where the entity is keeping what is ongoing evidence of its own criminal activity while the entity is engaging it. You cannot win against the federal prosecutor by stalking and harassing. I prosecute you for all of it because you're already stalking. You wouldn't be able to harass me but for stalking me. You wouldn't be hostile about what is being exposed about you if you weren't monitoring. You wouldn't be embarrassed, in other words, about your information that comes out about you. But I'm sure that the monitoring demons that you're targeting me with know that you have poor hygiene. This is the entity that's engaged in that pattern of conduct nonetheless. And as I leave Frank Nieto's third-party facilitating venue, not private property, where, by the way, he works for the gang stalker Walmart. He is a serial stalker for the gang stalker Ovid Family Community Library. All of those are, and he is residing at the facilitating venue of Woodside Senior Apartments. The entity engaging in what is the pattern of conduct at all aforesaid venues where Frank Nieto is subject to federal prison, regardless of whether he actually cleans himself or not, okay? This is the P.O.C. It is currently 1:17 p.m. And that is Southwest Airlines that is engaging in the pattern of conduct, as you see me publishing evidence at the Ovid Family Community Library, where Southwest Airlines is maintaining flights from what will be the same terminal, Terminal 4. But we want to be clear, Terminal 1, 2, 3, or 4 will never have flights hovering over American Inn. Will never be conducts that the federal government is going to ignore where you're hovering. A judicially noticed fact under a fake sun. Southwest Airlines is surrounded with those facts of targeting with the population, and you will see the gang stalkers of the city of Ontario. Facilitation, this is psychopathic pacing, this is criminal monitoring, stalking with light, and doing so with the population conspiring my murder. Hiding behind a prop, which is a weed whacker, is no diversion, okay? It is also literally evidence, a concession to your criminal engagement in the P.O.C. with the government that's conspiring murder, and doing so very foolishly, again, presenting evidence against those that are going to be in court, and they're going to be committed. Just like the entity that is gang stalking with the City of Ontario employees who are being federally prosecuted for years of conspiring murder and stalking with the airline industry. This is P.O.C. I want to be clear, Iron Skillet, it appears as though they may have some potential immigrants, but this is just getting to the entire state of California is going to be subject to deportation. So I'm just pointing it out. While the entity's gang stalking, we've got some potential immigrants that are at third-party facilitating venue Iron Skillet. They are doing so under the fake sun, coming out and raking around the building to stalk me in the path while the airline industry then flies over. I just want to be clear, immigrants are engaging in terrorism. And because you hate this country so much, because you despise the laws that even provide you a way to be here, because you defecated all over that privilege that is hereby revoked, you are being deported. Okay, this is the P.O.C. And as Mr. Trump already announced, running to this country and having a baby isn't going to keep you or your babies here, by the way. And this is letting you know that you're not welcome. Okay, so this is why I applaud Mr. Trump's policy, because you are enemies and you're gang stalking, and you're as much of an enemy as these red-blooded demons that are gang stalking in the military, stalking me in commercial planes, and they're going to be committed as well. This is the P.O.C. at 813 North Euclid Avenue under the fake sun that's not over the employees at the Upland Public Library. So my evidence showing that it's remaining there at the same time is what's putting Adam Tuckerman and everybody under that corrupt leader's leadership, under that, he's a director of the library, just like Sean Thrasher, they're going to prison. The employees are going to prison, and the employees are showing you what is mental illness. Stalking with light is mentally ill behavior. It's also corrupt and criminal. They do this as demons who are monitoring you, and they do so by using things like a weed whacker, or putting on a hard hat, or pulling out a shovel, or like Kevin does where he commits battery, pulling out a Lysol spray bottle to do nothing, literally. Stalking in the path is what he's doing, though. It's very criminal, and he is doing something, and the crime is completed. This is the prosecution of Paul Leon. P.O.C. at what is let's get the time, 1:21 p.m. under the fake sun on North Euclid Avenue, the route that I take in the morning during the 7 a.m. hour, 6 a.m. hour, 8 a.m. hour, where the sun is not going to be over the same person, let alone the same street. But this is where you saw the entity stalking me by helicopter at Chaffee High School, where you see the entity stalking me by helicopter up and down this street at Perez Law. They're gang stalking right now, okay? It's not based on business hours. San Bernardino County, we already know that you're going to be prosecuted. The entity that's kidnapping with San Bernardino County, they're all going to prison while they go out of their way to include themselves in the video. That doesn't establish mental illness. The mentally ill of San Bernardino County are being criminally prosecuted for defamation. That's the purpose of the Baker Act, the corrupt purposes that California is showing you. Demons that are unfit to be in the medical field, and gang stalking is the evidence of those in the medical fields is mental illness. That's what San Bernardino County just demonstrated to you, while a demon is representing San Bernardino County under the fake sun, targeting the one that they failed and defaming. And engaging in criminal activity, this is just a matter of what is common sense and legitimate practice of law and medicine. Engaging in criminal activity does not establish mental illness under the law. And that's what San Bernardino County engaged in. Gang stalking somebody else, and that is the basis whereby you seek to establish mental illness, and that's why you're going to prison. Every employee that I have of San Bernardino County working for the so-called behavioral health, your behavioral health issue is a matter of evidence, and be prepared because you're being committed. I'm talking to you, David Siegler. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, this is P.O.C. This is the evidence of the city employees, just like Fontana city employees, just like the city of Chino employees, gang stalking. License 1731527, and they're gang stalking with Southwest Airlines and Alaska Airlines. They're maintaining, that's why the fake sun is still over me. It's not on H Street anymore, okay? The entity is gang stalking in the city of Ontario that is provided the resources by Paul Leon and the Ontario City Council that's going to be prosecuted as terrorists. But they're getting more than that. They're not just the entire city of Ontario. They are all out of a job. Okay, I've been documenting the entire city of Ontario. That is the state of California, because whatever city I go to, that's why the city of Fontana is being prosecuted by this evidence as well. But just as an example, but I've been prosecuting the city, the municipality, stalking and monitoring with all of, including the military that stalks me by helicopter, even at the city hall. That's how foolish they've been. The entity is engaging in this, which while you see the Upland city employees targeting in the same manner, okay? The entity is engaging in this, and this is the prosecution of that government. All right, that's not an actual government, and that's not a government that has any authority under the law. That's why they're being prosecuted, because of their fictitious exercise of authority, because of their abuse of the access that they have. Okay, driving around in a city vehicle is exposing and prosecuting that city, and it's not going to be evidence to criminally prosecute and target an American citizen, unlike what the city of Ontario has been engaged in. Mentally ill and corrupt behavior, which is serving to prosecute Polyon, while the fake sun remains over me, and City of Ontario employees are on this street in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, gang stalking in furtherance of murder. And more so, while they monitor the evidence, like the psychopaths that engage in more criminal acts, demonstrating impunity. And let me just break something down to you. 7P50814, license plate third party. Impunity is the synonym, that's the trigger word for prison, just so that you know that. This is P.O.C. It is currently 1:27 p.m. Amazon is a very well-documented terrorist and stalker, vagina monitor. They like to engage in stalking American citizens and those around the globe as well, with helicopters, okay? License 57949 Robert 3. This is a female. You will see the logo, you will see the head, the phenomenon, the evidence of targeting, and they do so through the business. That's why the prosecution of the business is key in prosecuting terrorists like those that are represented by Amazon Prime, the mentally ill that are stalking. Remember, Amazon Prime is stalking on the same street at the Sunset, okay? Amazon Prime's engaged in criminal summoning with the City of Ontario, and this is a demon. Just so that you know, I want you to see the demon. The third party herself is getting prosecuted is the logo. Okay, that's the P.O.C. And this is what she's saying while she's gang stalking. That's why she's gang stalking while she's in public and you have no privacy. And this is the government that's not going to stop you from documenting them. This is why she's going to be committed. This is the entity that is stalking. You're going to prosecute that. That's the P.O.C. And you're also prosecuting. This is Bezos. Okay, P.O.C. and gang stalking with the people. 1025, 1027, 1019 North Euclid Avenue. They're all gang stalking. Amazon Prime, the U.S. military, the government, the gang stalkers don't do anything but incriminate the people. The people are going to be broken down with martial law. You're going to be deported. You will be prosecuted. Your life will forever be changed for targeting any American citizen. This is the P.O.C. If Brookdale is funded by any government funds, I just want to be clear, the old broken down gang stalkers, you're going to be outside like any other energetic demon. Okay, the law does not see you as any different. You and your liver spots. Okay, you and your high blood pressure, you and your oxygen tank. I do not feel sorry for you because you're gang stalking and furtherance of murder. And the entity is doing so regardless, okay? That's why Amazon Prime is here. Brookdale is gang stalking. Brookdale is full of terrorists. And terrorists don't have an age. License 7YMR160. And I'm documenting the elderly regularly engaging in criminal summoning. Regularly. That's the P.O.C. It is currently, while Amazon Prime is engaging in what is mentally ill behavior, you're stalking, but you come into my presence and then you're, oh, no, don't document. That's psychopathic, that's psychotic and delusional. This is the P.O.C. However, it is 131 on this same street. Like I stated, Amazon Prime is targeting and the evidence of a fake sun, which Amazon Prime never anticipated. All right. But in the face of that, Amazon Prime is very, very much obsessed. Remember, Amazon Prime is nothing other than a title, as you are speaking to the same mentally ill entity. The demon possessed have to operate the vehicles, have to operate the aircrafts. They have to maintain presence, okay? This is the entity. Amazon Prime is very much mentally ill and engaging in that P.O.C. and is subject to the same treatment under the law. The drivers, the demons stalking in those planes, they're going to be committed just like every other psychopath engaged in vagina monitoring on the roads and the highways. This is the P.O.C. It is currently under that fake sun where Amazon Prime is gang stalking 1:31 p.m. at 4th Street and Euclid Avenue, a wealth of evidence. All right, that's the P.O.C. while Amazon Prime is stalking, and then a stalker is pleading, please don't take my picture. All right, this is not any controversy. This is not any question. This is giving you the up close and personal study into the mentally ill because they've already been convicted. Amazon Prime is already convicted. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, what you will see in the images is the entity engaging in the same tactic that you saw at an apartment complex, which again, under the illusion of an effective constitution that the executive branch is respecting, is thereby authorized is supposed to be private property, and the pattern of conduct is underway. And by the way, that private property, Woodside, is around the corner from here. So CHEEHY High School is already prosecuted by virtue of this P.O.C. 9XBT057 is engaging in a sex offense at a high school. The entity is being prosecuted not just by what they're doing, but the way in which they do it. You will be prosecuted like every other pedophile that's engaging in sexual violence. And remember, the entity does so under the guise of, oh, that's my child that goes to the high school. You're engaging in a sex offense with children, including your child. That is gang stalking with the government that's flying over my head and another small white plane, just like what's happening at the Upland Public Library, where the sun is already planted. It's supposed to be sitting there because that's what Brianna thinks keeps her safe, while she just acts like nothing is happening and the entity stalked by helicopter. Remember that? While it's there as I walk in at 10 o'clock in the morning and the entity is engaging in that. That's what's happening at the gang stalker, CHEEHY High School, where the schools in the good old United States of America are engaging in surveillance, not engaging in what is the actual education of the people of the state who are practicing and learning terrorism, monitoring, okay? This is why they can't read. This is why the United States, by the way, does not compare very well to the literacy education standards abroad with the rest of the world, because the United States isn't very interested in that. In fact, the United States picks and chooses who will win, if you will. It's not even based on their actual accomplishments academically, because those that are excellent, the entity has engaged in tampering with your grades, keeping you back, advancing you when you're a dummy, etc., etc. That's why a fake sun is over a high school in the afternoon, and this same high school is engaged in stalking me by helicopter, which I documented very thoroughly, which the people of the state are engaging in with minor children, and that's going to come back and haunt them. That's gang stalking teachers, gang stalking police departments. Ontario Police, you'll see the license plate. This is under the fake sun. It is currently 1:38 p.m. This is the P.O.C. while I'm walking north, remember, on Euclid Avenue, and everything that is happening as I'm walking north on Euclid Avenue at 7 o'clock in the morning, at 8 o'clock in the morning. That's where you see the pattern of conduct, the evidence that is present, that is visible, removing illusions as you view it in the aggregate, okay? Amazon Prime is stalking again, license plate 48675 Mary 1, that's a male, operating that vehicle, driving south on Euclid Avenue, sharing in that sex offense with minors who are used to PACE right now. They're on the grounds of the high school, walking in and out of buildings. They're crossing paths with me while the fake sun is over me. These are demons, and I want to be clear, minors are vagina monitors. And this is just the reality. Satan does not have an age. Satan does not have a race. Contrary to all the ways in which we have been, first of all, divided and all mixed up, and then indoctrinated with the necessity of trying to categorize yourself, because that is what takes that's what takes priority with regard to who you want to affirm yourself as. And the entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct in order to keep you ignorant. The only thing that divides us is whether Satan possesses your vessel, okay? Those that are in darkness. And I'm not sorry. If you do not know Christ Jesus, if you do not walk with him as your Lord and Savior, if you are not submissive to what the Word of God says, if you don't even believe that the Bible is the truth, you are not a follower and you are in darkness. This is not some exclusive religious belief. And I also want to be clear, no matter how heightened you believe that you are, and there is a level, I will be clear, there are those that don't sound as ignorant as the rest of them. I'll give that to you, honey, but that's not enough. And you cannot contend with the devil. You cannot contend with Satan, who is a spirit, who you serve, unbeknownst to you. Okay, whether you realize it or not, because if you do not have Christ, you do not have any protection. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 1:40 p.m. That's Los Angeles County Sheriff. Alrighty, crossing path. They know that they've been discussed as of, and I don't even have to capture in order to prosecute Robert Luna. Robert Luna, honey, it's been over while you were flying in circles over me at Alvarado Gardens in LA, let alone coming to another region, and a fake sun follows. And the military aren't wise enough to stop while the rest of you are going to be prosecuted for what's already sitting on the record. Nonetheless, that is what is Los Angeles County crossing path under the fake sun. All right, just like they are, as I documented, last week on this same street, Euclid Avenue, where LA County is going out of its way targeting me on a very, very well, heavily documented street. The entity stalking me, this is the video that will prosecute LA County, that's gang stalking in San Bernardino County on Euclid Avenue in Ontario at 5th Street at what is 1:42 p.m. Chaffee High School is the crime scene where the entity is flying in circles over me by helicopter, which I documented by podcast and I documented on video for you to see the evidence that's going to remove Robert Luna and also prosecute him as a terrorist that he has been. All right, this is the P.O.C. This is the entity that is stalking in the path. I just want to be clear, LA County, San Bernardino County, Orange County, San Diego County, Kern County. Those are superficial separations. It's one entity, and that's what the P.O.C. endeavors to show you, because I can go to any city and any county and the pattern of conduct remains. That's how you're able to prosecute San Diego Police Department for that fake sun that's over me at 1 o'clock in the afternoon at 1401 Broadway during this time of year, August of 2024, because there is no contending. And it's also showing you that the entity is targeting. This is the mentally ill practice of stalking with light pursuant to facilitation, while the entity wears a uniform and is gang stalking with the people of the state in that environment, which is untenable with regard to any natural environment. The unnatural environment is prosecuting terrorist agency like San Diego County, having a fake sun over the top of my head in the same manner while I'm at a fake church, La Familia de Dios Iglesia Cristiana. All right, that's a fancy Spanish manner of saying fake church, where demons congregate and are engaging in surveillance. You are engaging in surveillance, you are monitoring, you are not a believer in Christ Jesus, you are not saved, and I said exactly what the truth is. This is not my opinion. You cannot reconcile what you're doing with scripture. And those who are following Christ, you are not going to a fake church and trying to reconcile it. It's impossible. You live a lifestyle of what is satanic. And this is also why he's exposing you to yourself. This is the service that's gang stalking. And there's a body of them doing that as well, body of evidence. It is currently 1:44 p.m. at, let's get an address where USPS is processing. Remember, they're the ones that stole my process, right? This is how the entity was able, Jason Fields and Tracy Banks, able to steal my property, while YouTube is suppressing my evidence on the internet, while the Ontario police are stalking me and kidnapping me, and the people of the state are aiding in that program of psychological torture, while they seek to defame my character and take my life. This is the entity, that ongoing cooperative act relevant to the United States Postal Service that did not provide me any service to process my due process rights, while the gang stalking courts entertain the lies of demons that are in position in those courtrooms to lie on my character, while that same courtroom is targeting me under things like the Baker Act. You're being prosecuted. You're being prosecuted. There is nothing that you're engaging in that is going to help you. You are engaging and you are always prosecuting yourself for me. The time is over when you're gang stalking and you think that that's evidence over here. Nobody's going to connect the dots, and nobody's going to connect Robert Luna with David Siegler and Mike Lorenz and Tracy Banks and Jason Fields, who's a coward stalking in the background, monitoring, facilitating, engaging, targeting on the internet, having sex with everybody that I know pursuant to the sex cult that's targeting and defaming my character. That timeline is over. Everybody knows what you're doing. This is the P.O.C. and you're going to prison for the elaborate, intricate system that this entity targeted me with. And you're going to prison because you tried to suppress my voice while trying to kill me off and steal my evidence at that. Insult to injury. You're going to prison for being so stupid, for being so foolish and criminal. This is the P.O.C. under the fake sun at 1:46 p.m. Alrighty, this is the entity that's following with the fake sun and trying to progressively dim it. It doesn't matter. That's why the pattern of conduct is underway at nighttime. And license 8 George Robert Thomas 491 is federally prosecuted all the same. So is American Medical Response. The mentally ill that hide behind positions that they are mentally unfit to maintain are engaged in criminal summoning up and down Euclid Avenue over a term of years, where you'll see the fake sun rising and setting over one street and the mentally ill driving ambulances stalking me. All right, this is the P.O.C. The subdued fake sun is equally probative regarding the fake sun, and the fake sun is merely evidence introducing you to the pattern of conduct by the U.S. government that's gang stalking in California. P.O.C. This is mentally ill behavior, while the mentally ill they're all stalking with light. They're all demons. And the demon possessed are mentally ill. And so the mentally ill create legislation like the Baker Act while they target those that they're envious of and steal from them, and then try to falsely depict that targeted individual's character. That's the purpose of things like the Baker Act, which are totally illegitimate and unconstitutional, even though the demon possessed can't spell that and don't even know what that is, because they don't operate through the laws. They get in positions, abuse them, and then they exploit their positions with regard to, and in other words, basically it's constitutional because some police officer or because some medical professional sat in court and because they've already taken an oath and their word is not questioned. All right. That's not the practice of law or medicine. It's not legitimate. It's entirely unconstitutional, and it's illegitimate because the U.S. government's maintaining surveillance. So you left that out. Okay, while you were forming legislation and while you're engaging what is exercising fictitious authority, because that's what it is under the Constitution, you're engaging in all manner of a 24-hour ceaseless search of everything and everyone while you want to create laws that tend to take people's liberty rights and the exercise of control over their own property while you alone are able to contend that they're unfit to. No, I don't think so. It's being repealed. While the mentally ill are being identified as a state, and it's being defunded. This corrupt business is being defunded. P.O.C. It is currently 1:50 p.m. I just wanted to show you that. The entity engages in asinine tactics, covering up the fake sun before I get to Upland Public Library. Guess where Breonna is still going? Guess where Adam Tuckerman is still going? Guess where Kiki is still going? I can hear you. I understand. You get it now. Yeah, they're all going to prison. Say it with me now. Federal prison. You're going to prison. They're all going. P.O.C. I already know because in the evidence that I captured in the morning at this address, 1501 North Euclid Avenue, the people of the state were having a field day stalking with impossible light. Doing so while then they later, because they're mentally ill, they don't think about the results. They're triggered by me because they're obsessed with me. So when I have the evidence and I put it on the internet, then the entity engages in what they did here at 1510 under the fake sun in the morning. You are going to prison. I don't care if I've never seen your pale face. I don't care if I've never seen your ashy ankles. You're going to federal prison because the entity's stalking me by helicopter where you reside. The only reason they know where I am at is because you are sharing in that pattern of conduct, which the government cannot engage in without the people of the state who are stalking with light, just like you saw here. And they did so while that fake sun was where? Right over me. Okay? This is the P.O.C. and they did so while I referenced who? Siegler, who is going to be committed. And the entity engages in that. And this is also ongoing cumulative evidence that you're going to add to the pile that they gave me on the morning where they were stalking by light, stalking as a population, stalking by place of residence. You don't have to be home. You're going to find out while you're monitoring that you're going to prison while the entity is stalking me where you live. The entity is engaging in this as a population. This is where California Highway Patrol is stalking under the fake sun. Don't forget that. This is where Rialto Police Department are stalking under the fake sun. Don't forget that. This is where Upland Police are stalking under the fake sun. Remember Ontario Police pacing at 7th Street in Euclid? That's right here at the same bridge. This is where the entity is engaged in that. And it is currently 1:54 p.m. I'm walking north like I do at 7 o'clock in the morning. How is this in Florida? What are you looking at? You're looking at the evidence to prosecute the Miami-Dade Police Department if you want to be very frank. All right? But I'm in California. All right, so I'm going to keep it to where I'm at, but this is exposing everyone. This is the P.O.C. You are going to prison. You will be committed. And this is the evidence that's accomplishing that. In addition to your cooperating with my federal prosecution by stalking me under all circumstances, every way, including by staying in the house and gang stalking. This is what you reap when you first endeavor to target anybody, target American citizens like the people of the state are doing where they reside. In that specific environment where they thought they could hide and conveniently defame you and claim that you're paranoid, for example. This is one of the tactics regarding those that are mentally ill practicing psychological torture. That's what it is when a population is stalking you in silence. And you, again, ignorant, are ignorant about the evidence that surrounds you. You're rich with evidence to prosecute them. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 1:55 p.m. Alrighty, what you will see in the images reflect the evidence that I have already dictated and which I've already established. So as a thorough investigator and one that is exposing and removing illusions, okay, for the service of those that do not know and need to know. The entity is stalking with a fake sun. The only thing that is doing that, which is doing that supernaturally, which is in that supernatural environment, engaging in the pattern of conduct by virtue of presence and facilitating behavior, which is embedded into society, i.e., I don't look like I'm stalking, says the demons in their psychopathic minds. I don't look like I'm stalking when I'm just driving on the road that I didn't pave, that I didn't put there, when I'm headed, minding my business, and I don't know the targeted individual, and I am not violating the laws that are created to facilitate criminal surveillance. The entity is under a fake sun, and this is revealing that pattern of conduct that is speaking to a whole city sharing in it. That's why I can go from Ontario to Upland, and it's a seamless, ceaseless P.O.C. You will see Upland gang stalking on the road in the highway, vehicle 42, license 1686966. Doing so under the fake sun. There's no traffic. When they stop, when the red light and the green light go and all that, it's all pursuant to me. Okay, they're doing so, which you know, when I'm already at this location at D Street in Euclid, while the fake sun's in zenith over the top of my head, a phenomenon at 2:20 p.m. when Mariposa is gang stalking at this same location. When I'm arriving at 10 o'clock in the morning at this venue, when I'm looking at the demons that smile in my face and stalk me with noise, which is done with the intent to monitor and harass and psychologically torture me. I'm talking about the employees inside of the library that had the absence of a sun while it's over me and I'm away from your job. You're going to prison. You're also going to be committed. The entity's engaging in this, and this is letting you know what Mariposa is doing while those demons use Mariposa vehicles with light activity, stalking with these demons on Euclid Avenue. While Mariposa is using its presence and those vehicles stalking, and the people of the state stalk at the same location with Mariposa while the demon plays tic-tac-toe with the light activity conduct. They're playing with themselves. You're going to be committed. Okay, everybody's looking at what you're doing, and these are not tactics. You are literally engaged in indecent exposure. You're butt naked in front of everybody, embarrassing yourselves for your criminal activity. And then look what the criminals do when they're caught. Oh, Alaska Airlines stalks in front of your face. In case you did not know, Alaska Airlines clarified it for you by stalking on H Street. Okay, and Southwest Airlines, so on and so forth, while the entity is doing so. And Southwest Airlines is stalking me in Upland, California in the morning from the same terminal. Upland doesn't even have any commercial airline companies. Cable Airport is being prosecuted by virtue of that. Stalking me in Upland, California, and the entity is doing so, providing evidence against Cable Airport. This is how the analysis goes. Because the entity is maintaining the pattern of conduct through everyone and everywhere. It just so happens that Cable Airport is targeted with the evidence and makes itself a conspicuous part of the pattern of conduct because the entities follow me around in small planes throughout the city of Upland. So this is how Cable Airport becomes discussed within the pattern of conduct. The entire city of Upland is being prosecuted while I'm at the same location walking to the Upland Public Library. And the environment follows me to the library. It's not already over the reference desk where the demons are pacing in front of that location, a whole bunch of vagina monitors obsessively stalking me, following me around, and then are also humiliated by that fact and provide more evidence of their mental illness and their criminal engagement in stalking and monitoring furtherance of murder, such as, stalking by helicopter, as I publish evidence, as I refer to that fact. They're all going to prison. And it's blatant, it's right in front of your face, it's in front of everybody's face. Those that are in foreign lands across the globe are watching the United States being embarrassed because what it's done to an American citizen at that. But it would be just as egregious if the United States of America, a now confirmed hypocrite, engaged in this against any foreigner that was touring and the United States visiting, which is what the United States is doing, by the way. Those that are visiting the United States, in case you did not know, your genitalia is under surveillance. You need to know that. Okay, those that are coming to the United States in the North America are engaging in what is through the immigration system for purposes of those that are across the globe coming to participate in this humiliation ritual that the entity itself has been humiliated by. That's why they're triggered by being referred to as what they are, vagina monitors. That's why they're triggered by being what they are, stalkers and demons and psychopaths, sex offenders. This is the entity that's engaging in that and cannot handle the truth. But that's exactly what you're doing. Never mind the fact that you don't like how it sounds while you're stalking me. Okay? You are stalking. You are a stalker. So you're triggered by your being referred to as literally what you're doing in real time. And you like to get in planes. You like to do it in ambulances and police vehicles. You like to try to look like you're important while you do it. That's just adding to what is the evidence speaking to your mental instability. That's all that is speaking to. That's speaking to the criminal expenditure on a whole system. That's what that demonstrates. That's what that proves. Okay? The entity is falling with the fake sun that is now over the Upland City Hall. What do you think Bill Velto's doing while I'm in Ontario? He's being prosecuted, but he's engaged in state surveillance. Bill Velto has detail regarding my vagina at Woodside Senior Apartments in this nasty third party's apartment. Okay, that doesn't know how to keep his hands clean or his toilet clean. Okay, so the entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct, and they're doing so while the evidence of the supernatural follows me.
I am the one that's letting you know about the truth because I don't have any reason to lie about the entity that's obsessed with me, the entity that is inferior to me. That's why you're obsessed with me and stalking me. That's why you spend millions of dollars, because they don't have any purpose. They are all here. They're all losers. And the whole government system, the whole system is designed to try to take down people like myself who do have a purpose, who are advanced, who are superior. Yes. Yeah. And you can't even spell it. That's why you're really triggered by it. The entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct, and the evidence of that P.O.C, which is highlighted, underscored with the fake sun that remained over me. It's not over the Upland Public Library. It's not in Florida. It is not anywhere in Nevada. While it is on over my head in video, reflecting off of the windshields while I'm standing on Euclid Avenue in Ontario, where I'm present at 7 in the morning. I've already gone through this trip. I've already arrived at the destination where I'm at now, and yet the same crime scene is around me. And everybody's supposed to act like it's not happening, because that's what the police that sound their sirens and the demons operating fire trucks and ambulances want you to behave like. They're delusional. Do you understand how they are trying to force you, coerce you psychologically to act like it's not happening, like you don't see that, like it's not blatant in your face? That's why they're getting committed. That's why. The fake sun, nonetheless, you will see in the image over the top of my head upon my arrival at what is now 2:26 p.m. And then you're going to listen to the podcast. You're going to listen to the conversation. You're going to listen to me embarrass demons who know that they're being documented. And they're being documented not for stalking at the reference desk, but for monitoring my vagina between my legs in a bathroom stall. For stalking and doing so, maintaining that sort of detailed surveillance in a plane above the library. Stalking in planes and helicopters. Monitoring my every move while I'm in an apartment, not even at this library. Prosecuting them at a distance. Bill Velto is being prosecuted as well. This is the P.O.C. I am at 2:26 p.m. right in front of the Upland Public Library. We're a bunch of stalkers at my move, okay? Follow my lead as they walk up and down the stairs, as they open and close doors. The mentally ill, who are demons, who monitor your move, and Satan doesn't have to look at you. They're all demons. They don't have to look at you while they're stalking with noise. They don't look at you while the fake sun is remaining over you. It's the unabated program of psychological torture, and the mentally ill engage in psychological torture as a program. That's why they're going to be locked down with martial law. And this is, ladies and gentlemen, speaking to the deity of Christ, speaking to the reality of the fact that God is alive, and he's alive and well, thriving on the throne, and he's coming back in judgment. And there is no contender under the earth, on the earth. No one can see him, in other words. And there is no spell work. There is no gay sex. All right? There is no gossip that's going to contend with the Holy Spirit. The reason why you've tried, the reason why you're still mad, the reason why you are still trying, the reason why you haven't given me my money, the reason why you're hoping that there's going to be a conversation, etc., 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 is because you are literally a defeated demon, and you're going to be committed. This is your fate. Listen to my words. Jason Fields, Tracy Banks, Eric Spence, you're being committed. You're not just criminals, you're mentally ill, you're sick. This is the entity that tried to kill me. It's still trying to kill me. I'm sleeping outside while they've been trying to kill me and then trying to suppress my evidence. Hello, that's YouTube on the internet. YouTube is being prosecuted for things nobody's even heard of before, but it's absolutely criminal, and it is proven with tangible evidence, and it shall be recognized under federal law. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 2:28 p.m. Let's see, what time is it? It is 2:31 p.m. Hello. Hey, can I check out a laptop, please? Yeah. All right, the fake sun is right over the top of my head amongst all the stalkers that are engaged in surveillance seamlessly. As I walk in, surveillance is underway, and the fake sun is right over the top of my head. This is where I enter at 10 o'clock, so that's not the case while it's remaining at Woodside Senior Apartments and traveling over me en route to this venue, speaking to a bunch of stalkers who are, again, engaging in a whole act. This is psychotic, what a whole society is engaging in together. This is P.O.C. It's 2:32 p.m. Alicia, do you have any study rooms available? No? Okay. Just asking.
basically what I capture is obsession. So the entity that is caught red-handed, understand they refuse to stop stalking. That's why the library is filled up. It's not some devotion to a work schedule or studying hard. It's not evidence of, the evidence of guilt is present. This is obsession. The government refuses to stop stalking. Martial law. Absolutely.
Not like fully charged. It's 75% charged.
You don't have anything more?
No, nobody turned it on. I was trying to, that's why I went through.
I'm the first one to get a computer today?
No, you're not.
Oh.
Nobody turned on the chargers. So you know, like those machines.
Okay. But already.
I don't know, I printed your receipt. Okay. Yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any wipes? Can I have a wipe, please? Thank you, ma'am. Are they charging now, or?
Yeah, just
okay. All right, thank you.
It's like it's a little quiet in here. That makes sense.
Excuse me. Oh, there's some over here.
And then
Okay, that is Joy that you'll see stalking. Does so by walking conveniently to her office under the fake sun that's arriving over the Upland Public Library at 2:35 p.m. She's going to prison, as are all the employees. Alrighty, this is the same door closure that is extraordinarily loud when they're triggered by what I publish online. But you're listening to that now. When I get started with the publishing, that's when the supernatural, the demons start acting out. This is the P.O.C, however. It's all criminal presence. I just like to document the ongoing tactics of harassment because they're being committed by it. It's the P.O.C. They're being committed with what they do, and it's going to put them in mental institutions, and you're not going to get out. You're not going to get out. It is 2:36. The long and short of this evidence is basically the systematic gang stalkers, the employees here, the entity itself, but the ones that are going to prison, I'm going to focus on them. The entire entity has been keeping me under surveillance while I've been at an apartment. And while I leave that apartment, that surveillance is underway. That is, Upland Public Library has been engaging and keeping me under surveillance at WOODSIDE Senior Apartments and vice versa, okay? The entire entity is engaging. Everywhere that I go, the P.O.C is underway. You're going to prison because you are psychotic, okay? And that is to the entire entity. This is the P.O.C. It's 2:37 p.m. at Upland Public Library under the fake sun that traveled over me north of Euclid Avenue from the city of Ontario to the city of Upland, where a population of stalkers are conspiring murder, and they're doing it before the world. This is the reintroduction of martial law in the United States. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, this is the P.O.C. This is the entity that is indeed stalking inside of the library. You just saw the stalker in the bathroom stall. This is the military that's keeping an American citizen's genitalia under surveillance. This is the military that is mentally ill, stalking with the Upland Police Department. Marcelo Blanco is who's being prosecuted by this. Marcelo Blanco's prosecution is seeking to disband a whole police that is engaging in surveillance with the people of the state who go into bathroom stalls, maintaining surveillance with that entity that's stalking under a fake sun,
You've already seen it after 7 p.m. You've already seen it before 7 a.m. at this same exact location. We're a bunch of stalkers. They're all stalking. And this is the entity that is very much in need of martial law, and that's what the evidence of the P.O.C. shows. A society of stalkers on the sidewalk, in the streets, in the sky space. Following on the same street, as my evidence shows, back to the city of Ontario along Euclid Avenue, historic evidence of a fake sun remaining over me while a population is being surrounded with the evidence that must support the ongoing existence of resurgence of martial law, and the P.O.C. Is well beyond that threshold. This is the entity of terrorists and engaging in what is stalking in a bathroom. This is the mentally ill. These are psychopaths that are monitoring your heartbeat. These are demons that are under the fake sun, keeping you under surveillance, stalking you, knowing where you sleep, knowing what you're eating, knowing what's going on, whether you're on your period, whether you're going number 1 or number 2 in the bathroom, which direction you wipe, if you wash your hands, how thorough you wash your hands, what stall you're in, and the entities, the footsteps as you walk in and out of the bathroom. They're doing so together. Satan doesn't have a race. Satan doesn't have an age. Okay, this is another homosexual. She's gang stalking in the bathroom. She's the one that was carrying a target bag. I documented her months ago. I also documented her gang stalk under the fake sun in the morning, and she knows that because I published another one of her recently, and I reviewed it. And she's also the entity that monitors, comes in, engages in. This is the entity that's engaged in the pattern of conduct. Now, while they engage in things such as Disneyland, coming to target the one that's prosecuting you because they're obsessed. That's why they engage in self-detrimental conduct like that. They're obsessed with the one that is prosecuting them. The entity, you're going to be committed. You keep giving me evidence to put you in a mental institution. You keep giving me evidence to have you deported. You keep giving me evidence to take custody of the demons that are under the age of majority. Gang stalking, okay? This is the P.O.C. Upland Public Library is gang stalking with those that come in with minor children. This Asian agent stalking in the path. You'll see him stalking on the staircase. He is stalking me on the inside of the building, studying his communication device. He is a demon that is obsessively stalking. So the moment that I pull my phone out, he puts his phone away because he thinks that he looks less of a stalker, if he's not staring at his phone like the demons are. It doesn't matter. The military is stalking by planes and helicopters under a fake sun. Clutching a baby is showing how babies are gang stalking. Doing so in a library is showing how pervasive public corruption is. And this is the reason why the demon possessed are illiterate in California. That's what it's showing you. There is no getting out of what is that pattern of conduct. This is the P.O.C. Brianna's gang stalking at the entrance door. The entity, Anthony gang stalking, he's at the reference desk. The entity's been maintaining amplified plane activity, which I took screenshots of, and that's the entity flying over my head upon my exit. Okay, that's the entity that's monitoring my vagina in the bathroom right now. Bill Velto is going to be prosecuted. He's being dragged. He's going to be dragged for every gang act that he is committing, including right now. You are not staying in office while you are being exposed to this degree with evidence by an American citizen. This is the P.O.C. being documenting the sex offenders who are the people of the state. Alrighty, it is currently 6:58 p.m. showing the mentally ill who engage in stalking as a population, i.e. gang stalking, and its state action. P.O.C. This is P.O.C. There's no airport where the entity will commercial planes at 7th Street in Euclid. So the entity is indeed stalking with the fake sun. So what the entity did is, you saw as I exited the Upland Public Library, covered it up. The evidence shows that it's already there. That's how you know they're mentally ill also. They're delusional. To ever catch the supernatural is the evidence of the P.O.C. I already got you, in other words. You can never unsee that. But nonetheless, the stalkers that are terrorists waving American flags, the entity is keeping that fake sun and is engaged in what is literally stalking with a fake sun, but trying to hide it at the same time. You can see it here. All right, it's engaged in what is stalking with an airport. All other ways in which the entity is, number 1, stalking, number 2, stalking in the absurd and unheard of ways. This is the spirit of Satan operating over a city. And because that is the case, this city is going to be locked down by martial law. They're a threat to national security. 9 Victor Wendy Kelly 726 is included. This is the P.O.C. at 7th Street in Euclid at Vantage Property, a heavily documented facilitating venue, 396. North Euclid Avenue, where the entity is stalking. Not Los Angeles International Airport, not Chino Airport, not Cable Airport, that doesn't even have any commercial planes. It's a private airport, and that doesn't exist with regard to the actual pattern of conduct, this surveillance system, meaning there's no commercial airline companies coming from Cable, which wouldn't also be here. And the Ontario International Airport doesn't have any flights, not over the Ovid Family Community Library coming from the airport, nor over the 10 freeway. This is the entity stalking, and so is this third party. License plate 9 Paul, Uncle Yolanda, 071, stalking on the roads and the highways. Martial law is removing them off of the roads and the highways, and it includes them, Amazon Prime, okay? Gang stalking businesses will not be on the roads and the highways. This is the P.O.C. It is currently upon exit where the Upland Public Library employees are going to prison based on this established P.O.C. This is the entity stalking at what is 7:17 p.m. while I'm en route back to Ontario. Where you're looking at, I want you to this environment. You see that engineer light? That's not sunlight. It's impossible. I'm standing at this very location at 8, 9, 10 in the morning. That's not sunlight. These are stalkers. This is a stalker on a bike. He's stalking a black woman. He knows who she is. He's riding the bike in relevant position, stalking the light signals, all of that on the roads. They're stalking together in that impossible environment. License plate 46913 Kelly 4. That's the P.O.C. They're driving over here on 7th Street. 7th Street where the Ontario Police California Highway Patrol. The entity is also, you saw FedEx that morning. The entity that's gang stalking, as I'm referring to Amazon Prime, who are egregious terrorists that are conspiring the murder of American citizens and those across the globe. Amazon Prime is engaging in this internationally, and Amazon Prime is going to be federally prosecuted as a serious threat to national security. These are criminals. That's not a business. It's a criminal enterprise. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 7:18 p.m. License 8TSU 943, license 5XUJ254, 8 Sam Jerry Charlie 968, 99GT 456, I believe. I can't really see that one, you can scratch that. This is the entity. I'm gonna go ahead and show you the fake sun. Okay, this is the P.O.C. All of my evidence is already on the record, and so any competent investigation, these are the mentally ill. The mentally ill are already bullied by the more intelligent at the outset. But all you're going to do, you can see that the entity is engaging in today hiding a fake sun that's still present while they keep it shining while I'm walking down the street, stalking with impossible light at Argo Optometry, where the entity is listening to what I expose. You're always exposed every day. They're mentally ill, they're psychos. License 9DVT511. License 9HFV967. License 9EIH795. UPS and the license plate 57949 Robert 3. He's correcting me saying it's Amazon Prime. License EP71R54 paper. That is Amazon Prime and UPS. That's just speaking to all the companies. While Amazon Prime is honking its horn and I'm not in the street, I'm not blocking their path. Why are they honking? They're honking while a fake sun is over the same street where Amazon Prime was stalking me this morning and stalking me and then trying to block me from or telling me not to document you. How psychotic are you? I'm stalking you, but please don't document me stalking you. No, don't document me stalking you. That's Amazon Prime. That's engaging in mentally ill conduct as a corporation. That is the formula to shut it down. In the same way that a mentally ill population that's engaged in surveillance is the formula for martial law. P.O.C. This is the fake sun. It is currently 7:23 p.m. I'm present here at 1544 North Euclid Avenue. The entity stalking under a fake sun in the morning. The entity stalking by helicopter at this same location. All of the hallmarks regarding the pattern of conduct as you prosecute a whole state, an entire state. All these people know that I'm here. These people are demons. And so this is the reality to you. This is a message to you. And this is a message from heaven. Okay, you need to know this. The demon possessed are plenty. Satan has already taken over many, many people. It's not an anomaly. It's not the neighbors next to you, but not the neighbors across the street from you. It's not the people in San Bernardino, but not the people in Rialto. The entire state is full of demons. The fake sun, the environment is here. This is Satan's land. He's gang stalking. Satan is being prosecuted. This is the P.O.C. It is currently, while the entity is maintaining presence by stalking on the sidewalk, this is the entity that's engaged in that, and this is 7:24 p.m. P.O.C. Alrighty, this is P.O.C. I just want you to see the fake sun that remains in alignment to me. You'll see Amazon going out of its way. Amazon is letting you know how much of a threat that they are. You're talking about Amazon Prime vehicles being used to bomb places. You're talking about Amazon planes crashing into buildings like UPS is already doing. That's and what I'm speaking to is that's the level of a threat that Amazon is letting you know that they pose to you while they are going out of their way stalking me. The fake son that is present at the same location that I was this afternoon, the fake son that is present at the same address, 1510 North Euclid Avenue, where demons like this, license 10933 Edward 4, are stalking, and Impossible Light was moving across this wall, and the mentally ill were pasting all together, and you included a helicopter in that mentally ill method of stalking while you are triggered as the federal prosecutor, who was also the target individual for purposes of exposing the demon-possessed, not the demon-possessed sacrificing a child of God. That's never going to happen. The entity's engaging in this, and this is the entity that's engaging in criminal activity that I continuously publish on my website. This is the P.O.C.wordpress.com, and on the platform where the public investigation, the public prosecution. I am holding the court case against the government, and the government, the military tribunals, are going to respect what I have proven, what they are guilty of. And the entity has committed the crime against me. And I am the one that is also skilled in the law in order to uphold and prosecute under those laws, and with regard to laws that need to be enforced, with regard to the malice of an entity that is gang stalking and all the ways in which that entity is engaging, and doing so, like I'm showing you, amongst the supernatural, where Amazon is very much engaged in tracking my steps and communicating a threat. And all the world hears what Amazon Prime is stating. Bezos and Amazon Prime, I want to be clear. These are threats to you. While they are stalking me, you need to understand that that's a threat to you. Whether you appreciate that or not, that's not for me to help you understand the significance of what I'm documenting, okay? The entity's stalking under a fake sun and is doing so while I'm here at the 9 o'clock hour. That's the evidence of every single last person you know stalking me. They're all obsessed with me. They're obsessed with my vagina, which they have detailed information about. They are all sex offenders. And the government is a sex offender that is stalking you, like they are flying over the top of my head as I exit the Open Public Library. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 7:30 p.m. where the mentally ill engage in showing you their mental illness as you survey the environment, while they don't look at you and don't address you, while you're ostensibly surrounded by strangers. And that environment is letting you know that you're surrounded by the mentally ill, the deranged psychopaths, violent sex offenders. Violent sex offenders. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 7:30 p.m. at 1510 North Euclid Avenue. The entity, they're going to prison. I want to be clear. You're talking about the federal government that's going to come in. I want to be clear, and you're going to prison. This is just where it happened. Everybody in relevant position is subject to prison. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 7:30, and that's just the people of the state. Understand that. The gang stalking entity that goes out of its way stalking in police vehicles and in helicopters and in planes, they're getting raided too. They're going to prison and mental institutions as well. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 7:30 p.m. 9DYV936, that's a sex offender. They're molesting my backside, molesting the backside of my person, stalking. And the sexual assault is shared by Starbucks, Chevron, Arco, and the people that stayed along Euclid. They're engaging in surveillance of this parking lot. You see these stalkers? They're sitting in the parking lot, engaging what is, as I walk through, the demons then move their vehicles. They're all stalking together. That license plate is speaking to an entity that's committing a sex offense together. This is the entity that stalks under a fake sun, stalking with light. This is the entity that does so. German is over here. German is a sex offender, and that's an immigrant that's going to be deported. If he is in fact an immigrant, sex offenders, gang stalking, are being deported. He's also engaged in what is the pattern of conduct as a matter of systematic engagement, which is prison. I documented these license plates and images, so they're sharing in that sex offense together. These are the mentally ill that stalk with light. Getting out the vehicle, just holding a conversation, is stalking in the path. You see the looking back at me? They're the ones that are stalking me on behalf of demons like Ontario Police. You saw C. Gerber and Ornalis under the fake sun right here. 42268 Henry 4 is stalking with that agency, okay? And this is the sex offender that wants to touch me with light, a demon that is also a sex offender combined. The spirit of Satan is speaking to the mentally ill behavior. They're going to be committed with that, okay? This is the P.O.C. All right, this is the entity that's engaged in that pattern. You see their shadows on both sides of their person. These demons are going to be committed in mental institutions. They are the template for commitments. This is the pattern of. This is the entity that's engaged in that. The video of C. Gerber and A. Ornalis right here at the same location, that was the daytime version of Stalking with Light. This is the nighttime version. Okay, this is my shadow. You see their shadows on both sides of the person. This is called engineered light. That's what it is while the fake sun is over in this parking lot. And that entity is engaged in that where the fake sun rises and sets, which I have at this Arco. While the entity is just engaged in sitting there, keeping their back to like nothing is happening. That's why they're getting, this is the mental illness. That's the psychopathic behavior. This is the P.O.C. All right, that's the entity that's engaged in that. And that looks like a stalker with a UPS uniform on, but it doesn't have to be, it doesn't matter. But I'm just speaking to the doo-doo brown color of a demon that's engaged in that same behavioral pattern, license license 42268 Henry 4, and 9DYV 936 committing sexual violence together while they're stalking. You see this shadow on the vehicle and you see the shadow on the ground? Serious faces. You're going to be committed. That's the P.O.C. And that's what the entity that works in the medical community, where they use their studies in the medical field to engage in this psychologically torturous behavior, not to engage in committing no harm, doing no harm. They do it to commit harm. They do it to then what is engineer mental illness while they psychologically torture you, and it's supposed to manifest in your behavior. That's the entity that's not engaged in the practice of medicine. That's the entity that's engaged in what is torture, engaging in what is terrorism, engaging in what is criminal activity while doing so. And while they use their medical license, while they use their position in the law enforcement, while they use their position in the court as an officer of the court, they're going to prison. Okay, it's down to the gang stalkers that are outside in the engineer light under the fake sun. That includes the Ontario police. That includes the Ontario police who are targeting vicariously. That's literally what this is: vicarious conduct in the within the specific environment. Stalking in the path is what this is. These are psychopaths, okay? The spirit of Satan is operating over them. This is speaking to what is obsession. This is speaking to what is psychiatric concerns that are a threat to everybody around that is unaware of it. All of these are demons who are monitoring each other, and they're monitoring people like myself who have not waived their constitutional rights. That's why they're going to be subject to martial law. So will corporate actors like Arco and Chevron, businesses that are going to shut down because the people of the state are not going to be on the roads and the highways. They're not going anywhere. Their days of engaging in murder and then calling it a car accident and then getting a lottery through the insurance agency that's gang stalking as well, those days are over. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 8:06 p.m. And these third parties, this is sexual violence that they committed as a government act, and they're being prosecuted for it. They're stalking right now. This is what stalking looks like. That's the P.O.C. It is currently 8:06 p.m. All right, being prosecuted for sexual assault and battery and stalking, license 9JPX377, conspiracy to murder, license 8 Zero Paul 645, sexual assault and battery. They're all gang stalking together. 98920 George 3. And as is the P.O.C., you see them so focused, the two demons in the previous video, while I am walking away. And as I walk away, pursuant to the pattern of conduct, that's when they leave their parking spots. That's when they engage in what is putting their foot on the brake and stalking with light, following me with light, pursuing with light, touching with light. And this is the entity that does so as soon as I walk away. The entity is very much concerned with the way that it looks on camera, because you are supposed to still be deceived that somebody is a paranoid schizophrenic while they're documenting the P.O.C., and everybody knows better than that. It's the mentally ill who are intellectually deficient, the ones that are stalking in planes and helicopters and stalking with light under a fake sun, that are mentally ill, that are under that false impression. It's not the way that it looks. In other words, you are not looking at the superficial appearance of demons who are monitoring, engaging in witchcraft. In other words, it's failed witchcraft, but it is witchcraft. The entity engages in what is talking to each other. They're so focused on a conversation, and you're going to go to prison behind that because it's stalking. Stalking, there is no law that says when you're stalking, you have to be engaged in some specific activity. You're following while you're holding a conversation in the engineered environment where the Ontario police have already laid down the foundation in order to put you in a mental institution while you're stalking with light. Engaging in a sex offense in doing so. By the way, they are doing so, and they're so focused on that conversation. 28492 Paul 2. That's a license plate. And at the moment that I walk away, that's when that conversation ends, and that's when those demons are stalking and drive toward me, committing that sex act. Now, those third parties I documented in the white Lexus, the male and the female that looks like she is a gang stalker affiliated with the terrorists of U.S. Doesn't have to be. U.S. is being documented under all circumstances, but it looks like a U.S. uniform nonetheless. That's the entity. When you're documenting a stalker, and that stalker, you document that stalker, and then that stalker gets up and continuously is following you and pursuing you, you're going to prison. That's what I'm documenting on an ongoing basis. That's why they're getting martial law. Okay? Now, I have laid what is the foundation for precedent. So you have a whole bunch of people that are going to prison. Okay? But this is establishing precedent. And a population that are mentally ill that have been exposed worldwide, like what is filled in California, they're going to be bound by martial law. That means the feds are going to pour in. That means you don't have any rights. Since you're violating everyone else's and you've waived yours and you're aiding with, you are the government, gang stalking, maintaining massive surveillance. Oh, the feds are coming in. Nobody hasn't. You don't have it. In case you don't know what martial law is. I'm putting it in a very, I'm speaking in the vernacular, but it is more detailed than that. And it is established, it is necessary under the law, under the Constitution. But essentially, you don't have a right to just leave and sit outside, walk down the street. You don't have a right to just go to the T-Mobile store, go get another cell phone, go to work where you're gang stalking all day long, go to church, go to school while you're gang stalking, go drop your kids off while they're gang stalking and you're gang stalking. They're not going to have any rights to do any of that. And this is the evidence that is supporting that as the case, because they should not. This is what they're doing while they do that. While they exploit, they abuse what are constitutional rights, benefits, protections. These are the demons. They're not even humans. These are demons that are masquerading as humans that have the right to privacy. Okay, Sarah's Regis, sexual assault and battery, license 6369. To Jerry 4, sexual assault and battery. That's Sarah's Regis group that's being prosecuted as a sex offender while they are at that venue stalking me and molesting with light. Stalking in the path with Sarah's Regis group is stalking with light. Every single resident is engaged in that pattern of conduct, and they're doing so as a P.O.C. while Sarah's Regis, the apartment building, keeps a fake sun over it. While I stay in Ontario, you know that's not the case while it's over me in Upland, California, which is exactly what I documented today. The entities engage in this as those that will be subject to martial law, where they will all be under a fake sun, but they're not going anywhere. They're not going anywhere without the consent, in other words, of the federal government that's going to keep very tight rope around those who are terrorists, which is what is filling the city of Ontario. And what I've shown to be in Ontario, what I've shown to be in Fontana, what I've shown to be throughout Southern California, it fills the entire state of California. How is Gavin Newsom ever under the sun out in Sacramento? I'm exposing him. I'm exposing the entire state. And this is speaking to what has been lawlessness. Okay, you're talking about people that die for no reason, people that die for corrupt and criminal purposes every day under the guise of some sort of criminal justice system, some sort of need for an investigation. These are a bunch of stalkers. They take people out. There's no investigation, it's surveillance. Every person that dies, first of all, it's known that it's died. This is a satanic sacrifice that they're engaging in. They sacrifice each other and they sacrifice the ones that they target, like myself, right? They sought to. They targeted the one that is here to prosecute. I'm here to prosecute. I'm here to bring down martial law. The demons don't have any rights. They literally don't have any physical rights. That's why the Constitution is being implicated while the Lord God is exposing the wicked. It's into the physical. Okay, but the entities engage in that, and this is why, this is how the P.O.C. is speaking to the necessity of martial law. It's literally supported by the evidence of their criminal activity. Okay, this is P.O.C. I am documenting Leo. What the entity is doing at the Arco parking lot, what the entity is doing while I am under a fake sun is what Leo and what is Securitas is doing. And Leo likes to engage in criminal summoning. He's going to be committed. He's going to prison. All right. There's a body of evidence. You can look at Leo and the criminal activity that he's going to answer for. While the military has provided evidence that is in this court case, the military, the Ontario police, the people of the state of California has testified against him with regard to the pattern of conduct. This is testimony. This is criminal activity that is out of the interest of Leo as I prosecute an entity and I dissect the evidence, I dissect them, and I target them with their criminal activity. And Leo has been fully testified against with his own co-defendants, and Leo's going to prison. Anyway, this is the P.O.C. It is currently, while you hear that train activity and possible audible activity at 8:14 p.m., this is the entity that is indeed targeting that third party, that mentally ill stalker that's engaged in that and wearing a uniform. That uniform is being prosecuted. That's Securitas. Okay, that's P.O.C. It is currently 8:14 p.m. where the entities engage in that pattern of conduct from Upland to Ontario, just like I documented from Ontario to Upland. Okay, that's the P.O.C. P.O.C. See what I'm uploading here, and you'll see what the entity is doing while they are monitoring here physically. Monitoring pursuant to stalking. See their shadows. See the plane hovering over John Stewart Corporation. That's Leo and Securitas stalking. They're doing so in the engineered environment. I've got two shadows in front of me, one to the side, and the entity is monitoring this upload onto the internet. Doing so where the entity is stalking with commercial planes at the 10 freeway, that's the entity that's already shown to be stalking. What they are also engaging in while they are physically stalking, they are monitoring online. This is federal stalking, surveillance on communication devices, surveillance pursuant to monitoring and furtherance of murder with the population who are pacing. This is what they're doing on the streets in their cars. You see their shadows that are perpendicular. They're engaging in pacing, and it's mentally ill shared conduct with the entity that is, very blatant stalking. There's no takeoffs over here. That's a matter of what is judicial notice. The dogs are props. These are demons. This is the entity that's in need of martial law. This is the entity that's monitoring the evidence against it. This is the entity that engages in more of it while they watch me publish it. This is the entity that attacks with a knife with the while they are hostile stalking and then follows with helicopter activity. That entity that you see me publishing the evidence about today, I published the criminal activity here on June 5th, 2026, June 6th, 2026, and June 7th. The entity is stalking at the C Street turn circle. This is the entity that's doing that. Now, the fake son's been sitting over Woodside Senior Apartments, 6:48 p.m., matter of evidence, while they drive cars and Impossible Light moves on a living room wall. While they do that, the living room is where light is manifesting. They're stalking with light, they're mentally ill, and they're all stalking. Okay, the entity's engaging in what is keeping the fake sign. As I documented, the entity stalking by helicopter at that same apartment complex. Wow, what a coincidence here. She's chubby because she's not working out. She's pacing. She's got perpendicular shadows while she's stalking. With the entity that has no takeoffs from an airport over the 10 freeway in Upland or over the Ovid Family Community Library, John Stewart Senior Citizen Complex, where the fake sun rises and sets, just like at Woodside, where there was a necessary abandonment of this crime scene, where the entity that's being prosecuted would like to contend, what are you talking about? That's the sun. What you're crazy. You're going to put this evidence in the court because you're going to be committed. Not only are you going to be prosecuted for stalking, every syllable that comes out of your mouth where you think you can defame somebody, you're being committed. This is that formula for that. The entity is engaging in stalking by driving into the parking garage. That's John Stewart Company stalking. The entity stalking. John Stewart Company is also stalking while the government flies over that apartment complex. You see the entity stalking. This is what these demons are doing together while I'm preparing to upload, which they're engaging in ongoing ambushing. This is Leo. He is very psychotic. Very psychotic. He engaged in criminal summoning, called the police. They're not even police officers. They're vagina monitors. But he called the stalkers that pose as police officers in Ontario, literally for no reason. And the reason is because they're monitoring, as I was creating another playlist, these playlists that they are triggered by, because I'm targeting, you can look at a playlist with just literally Southwest Airlines stalking, with literally just Delta Airlines stalking, with literally just John Stewart Company stalking. And while I was creating another playlist, which this demon Leo has one as well, reserved for him, that's when the Ontario police arrived right here at this same Ovid Family Community Library where the City of Ontario is monitoring evidence. This is not just any evidence, which is federal stalking. This is evidence against this very government. That's an unlawful act intruding on an investigation. Do you think that federal investigators permit that? Federal judges? Federal courts? How do you think they look on that? The entity, regardless of the fact that they have complete disregard for the law, they're going to suffer the consequences for an ongoing documentation, years of impeding upon this investigation. This is why Jason Isaac Fields is still gang stalking me and he's not already in prison. He's going to prison. The entity that's been stealing my content, how do you even know who I am while YouTube is shadow banning me? YouTube that's being prosecuted by literally this evidence. I'm prosecuting you who sit at computers at YouTube. I want to be clear. That's in California, headquartered in California. You're monitoring and I'm prosecuting you. You're going down for criminal activity while a shadow ban is simultaneous to stalking by a government that's poisoning me and stalking and monitoring and kidnapping and defaming, which is an ongoing course of conduct, which, I want to be clear, is headlined by the mentally ill homosexuals of the U.S. military, who are demons, the Nephilim. Okay? This is the entity that's engaging in that. Gang violence, all because I've already won. When you're on the internet, one video, that's it. Now, they think, the demons think, oh, just one video, we'll kill you and then we'll just change the context. But that's not what was ever going to happen. When I put video 1 on the internet, these demons should have known it was over. They kept on, and it is 2026. This is the entity that's going to prison. I don't care who you think you are, Jason Fields is going to prison. Okay, this is the P.O.C. The entity is stalking while they're monitoring. This is what is the trigger right now regarding what Leo is doing. The serial stalkers that are gang stalking at the Ontario First United Methodist, the one that's engaging what is battery, he's still stalking. This is the entity that stalked me all the way back to Ontario. This is the entity that has been without a son with regard to the natural environment, because that's how you're going to prosecute the Ontario Civic Center, which is the city of Ontario, because the entity kept the fake sun over here. So what's happening in all the rest of the city of Ontario? It would be no sun, which which is impossible. And then I'm capturing the impossible, that the fake sun is over me all over Ontario, and then abandoning Ontario to be in Upland, et cetera, et cetera. That's the prosecution of the mentally ill, who are going to be subject to martial law. This is evidence of criminal surveillance. This is the P.O.C. They're not just stalking, they're engaging in surveillance, and this is the entity that's engaging in what is an unlawful violation of privacy, not only on the internet, not only on my devices, but also between my legs, my vagina. While the entity is stalking with plane activity, you hear that? That's the entity that's doing so with commercial airline planes, doing so with companies like Securitas, doing so with demons and terrorists like Leo, doing so with the people of the state. The mentally ill that are going to be deported. This is what Trump is having deported out of this country. Those that are natural-born citizens, you're not saved by that. You are being deported, and justly so. And those that are stalking in the planes and the helicopters, they're being committed. And I want to be clear, if you were granted citizenship and you're in the military, you joined some sheriff's department, some police department, some fire department, some ambulance service company, and you were granted, guess what? You're being deported just like every other immigrant. You're not going to be treated differently. I just want to be clear, because you're not different. The evidence shows that across the board, you're psychotic. This is the P.O.C. This is the entity that is monitoring my evidence online. And the entity engages in, just like they did at Woodside, stalking by helicopter when they don't like the evidence. That's very imprudent, however, because everybody knows that Woodside Senior Apartments is full of gang stalkers. Oh, those gang stalkers are collecting welfare. They're getting assistance with their rent while they're stalking just like this, okay? The entity, all they're doing is showing you that their children are also going to be subject to martial law. That's all that shows you. Okay, Satan doesn't have an age, so that perverted vagina monitor is embodied within a child, okay? That's the P.O.C. You're just talking about not being socially mature, but still engaging the P.O.C. All they do is show their hands, and they're pacing. That aircraft goes by while the demons that are underage are monitoring. This is why the Ontario police are being disbanded. All they're doing is showing their hand. The entities, Leo's not engaged in security. Securitas is engaged in security. The entity's engaged in what is stalking. Stalking. And this is the entity that does so with providing a wealth of evidence. And those that are being isolated with regard to the convenience for those to see the face, to see the identity of the demon possessed. What does Satan look like? Satan is a spirit. Look at the demon possessed. What did the demon possessed? What did the Nephilim try to look like? They try to look like humans. They try to look like you and I. You'll know them, and you'll know them by their deeds. And their deeds are criminal. It's gang stalking. It's the P.O.C. It is currently 8:41 p.m. This is the entity that's monitoring this evidence. This evidence is published on the website and on YouTube. This is evidence, I want to be clear, Google, Sergey, and every other gang stalker, you're engaged in criminal surveillance. You're doing so through a massive means, a billion-dollar company, Google. I'm prosecuting you for conspiring my murder. Doing so with the people of the state, with the government, providing a facilitating venue to do so. While you are engaging in surveillance, you're also aware of, and reasonably aware of, my evidence, which is my intellectual property, which I put on YouTube to save my life. A very legitimate and superseding purpose, which you have defecated over. You defecated over it because you're a gang stalker. Gang stalkers are on the venue of the internet. It is YouTube, okay? The entity's engaged in that, threatening my life. I'm prosecuting you. You've been given notice. I'm literally on YouTube. You're engaging with a shadow banning me. That's why I have little over 200 subscribers. While those that have stolen my content, stolen my identity, are making a lot of money. We'll just say that, making a lot of money off of my content. How is this the case when I'm the one whose life is under threat? The government knows exactly where I'm at. It's proven through stalking with helicopters and under a fake sun. That is also over Google. I'm prosecuting you. You're targeting me. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 8:42 p.m. This is the entity that's engaging in federal stalking. That's the entity, that's the Ontario International Airport that's being shut down, and the military personnel that are going to be committed for stalking an American citizen while they've taken an oath to protect that American citizen. And they do so with the people of the state. Okay? That's what this is, criminal activity by the people of the state. It is P.O.C. It's currently 8:43 p.m. All right, people of the state doing their stalking bidding. He's sitting in the vehicle. This is a sex offender at the city hall. The city hall is being prosecuted. They're doing their demonic light activity. The people drive through. This is also a sex offender that wants to molest and engage. See the communication device. This is a demon. This is the P.O.C. And he's doing, I just documented Michael GERKEN, the Ontario Fire engaging criminal summoning this demon while I'm at the library. This demon is here maintaining, this is light activity around a perimeter. Okay, this is what an entity is doing while they're in their vehicles in the parking lot stalking. The apartment complexes are stalking. The government buildings, that's the City Hall, Laverne College of Law, Ovid Family Community Library, where the military is stalking by plane and helicopter. This third party is stalking. And this is the entity conspiring your murder. License 81972 That is no small thing. They're going to prison for this. Stalking for light. That's what they were doing at the ARCA parking lot. Okay, this is the people of the state who are indeed conspiring the murder of specific individuals in the United States. They're down at Metro 102. That's MIG Real Estate being prosecuted. Stalking in the path. This is criminal monitoring. Okay, this is government action. This is all state action. Metro 102 is not a private property. You've been stripped of that, and you are hereby given notice. You are being very federally prosecuted. This is P.O.C. You're the corporation. You are conspiring murder. You are being prosecuted as gang stalking. All right, your residents, your employees, the government, every aspect of the P.O.C. and the venue itself, the establishment, your business is present in an environment that is speaking to targeting, and that is exactly how a government is monitoring. That's exactly how you're going to be prosecuted. This is the P.O.C. It's not just MIG, it's also GL Partners, Ontario Town Square Townhomes, where the entity is engaging in this, and you're being prosecuted for psychological torture, which is establishing precedent where corporations are going to be prosecuted for psychologically torturing American citizens while profiting, making money off of what is the criminal surveillance system while they murder people as corporate entities in concert with the government. That does it in concert with those corporate entities. This is P.O.C. That's the entity that's engaged in that, and the government does that while you are stalking in the light. All right, targeting me, the entity engaged while the government flies over that apartment building, and there are no terminals where that would be the case. The evidence is already on the record. You are targeting Metro 102. And I already know you're not ready for this prosecution. You have already been convicted. I'm going to let you know that. This is the P.O.C. and this is your notice. The entity that's engaging in surveillance through your devices and on the internet, that's also the same way you're receiving notice. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 9:19 p.m. Wendy's molesting, license 8 Larry Mary Edward 396. And the sex offender that goes in to make a purchase is license 9 Zebra George Apple 279. Stalking with light. This is the conduct of the military and the corporations like Wendy's. They're being federally prosecuted. This is a sex offender, and then they go and make a purchase while they're stalking in the path. Okay, this is the P.O.C. While they're gang stalking by parking lot pimping. This is a stalker that wants to touch with light while I walk back. Okay, this is the entity that's stalking with the sun, a fake sun all day long. This is the nighttime version of that. In the environment, I just want to be clear, where the engineered light crossing path, okay, under the guise of, oh, I'm carrying food, I'm getting a ride home. These are the multiple shadows. It does not matter what you call yourself doing. But while you're operating a corporation that's gang stalking, now you're going to prison. The employees are going to prison because they're still stalking. They have not learned their lesson. These gang stalkers are monitoring. While I was molested, these fat boys are gang stalking me. They're here to engage in vagina monitoring too. All right, this is the P.O.C. These employees are going to prison because they're still engaging in the P.O.C. This is what federal prison is made for. They committed sexual assault and battery right now with the demon that's completing a purchase. Wendy's is profiting off of gang stalking me. That's why I'm going to drain your pockets and your employees are going to prison. This is the P.O.C. It's 9:27 p.m. And you're going to recall Lupe saying she didn't see me while I'm being targeted. This is why you are always prosecuted. You're going to be committed. You're going to be committed. That's psychotic behavior. All right, that's beyond a RICO case. This is terrorism. You're going to prison. Stalking in the restaurant, and so just making presents in the path. This is P.O.C. And this is the entity that is stalking American citizens by helicopter and by commercial planes, by jets, and by small airplanes. This is the mentally ill population that is going to be addressed by martial law. The only way to restrain a mentally ill population. P.O.C. That's impossible light activity. Impossible light. While you are stalking in the restaurant. License 9ZGA9 is still here stalking and monitoring. Like the rest that are stalking with light.
And I want to be clear, she's not an individual. They share mental illness while they are stalking with light, monitoring together. P.O.C. This is psychological torture. Wendy's, the corporation, is being prosecuted for. That's a sex offense. And your headlights are not reaching to that inside. All right. They also don't create multiple shadows. And you're also engaging in stalking with light where the entity has a pattern of stalking with the fake sun. That's what that third party is doing. That's what Wendy's is doing. Okay. This is the P.O.C. And engaging in gang stalking is a threat to the public. Selling food where they're gang stalking and furtherance of murder, they are a threat to national security. And this is the same evidence that will be used to remove Wendy's from existence. They do it to themselves. This is the mentally ill. This is a government system. This is a state action. This is not a private company. They're third parties. And guess what? They maintain surveillance in the bathroom. Wendy's is a sex offender. Nobody in the drive-thru. I'm just waiting because I have a camera on. These are demons that are monitoring the evidence. This is P.O.C. So the entity that engages in the criminal conduct, they don't like being documented. They're psychopathic criminals that are very corrupt. And this is why the entity engages in harassment, okay? You're going to prison while you engage in harassment upon gang stalking with an intent to obstruct justice. That's the legal terminology for that psychopathic disorder that manifests with regard to those that are harassing me and targeting me because I'm prosecuting you for stalking me, okay? I'm not chasing you down. I'm not monitoring you. I'm not in your business. You're in mine. You're in all of mine. This is the P.O.C. It's currently 9:32 p.m. Oh, just a note, they have other employees here. Nobody's coming to the register. These are demons that know that the camera's on. They're monitoring. They know. It's not just poor customer service. They know they're being documented. He's not working by himself. They ran to the back. Right? They want to gang stalk you. But these are cowards. These are spirits. Understand, Satan is a timid. These demons, these are timid spirits. They need each other. Gang violence, that's because they're demons. Demons are very apprehensive and timid. They're cowards. They can't deal with facts. They make up information to make themselves look like something that they're not. Okay, that's why Jezebel has HIV and try to project that illness onto me. Jezebel is a whore, okay, and tries to present herself as though she's some modest, a virtuous woman. Okay, but at the same time, the demons that are following Jezebel are having anal sex and gay sex rituals with her. So you're talking about lost. All of them are lost. They're all demons. This is the P.O.C. It is current. Just giving you an example. It's 9:33 p.m. I would like to order a small French fry with, a medium French fry, please, with no salt. And I'd also like to order. That means bacon, lettuce, tomato. So, can I get the crispy BLT? But does that come with like any sort of mayonnaise or anything on it?
Mayonnaise, yes.
Can I get it with no mayo? I'll just take the lettuce and the tomato and the no mayo.
If you want to record us, you have to stop.
I'm sorry?
You can't record us.
What are you talking about?
You can't record us.
Why? So I'm holding my phone, so I'm recording you? Was I holding it up like this, recording you?
No, it's because of we're getting people that basically having the phone out like this, just like normally, like even if they're talking to it. It's mine just keep on.
You have surveillance cameras in here, do you not?
Yes, we do.
Oh, okay. So everybody's being recorded right now.
Yes, but it's
Okay,
policy.
so I'm using my phone, and I can do that at the register, can I not?
No, you cannot.
I can't use my phone at the register.
You can't use your. You can use your phone to talk.
So you're telling me how I can use my phone now, and you're assuming how I'm using it also?
It's the way of. It's because stores, every fast food places don't want the employees to be recorded.
What does that have to do with me holding my phone right now?
I'm just telling you, if you're gonna hold your phone, just have it like down.
So you just assume that I'm recording you right now because
No,
I had
it's
it?
just-
You just said you're not allowed to record. Do you tell everybody that? They all come up here with their phones.
Yes, no, they all have the phone like this.
How am I holding it right now?
You're holding like this.
Like this?
Yes.
Okay, and what does that mean?
And a coin and phone, like security cameras watching how you hold your phone like that.
Uh-huh.
It really seems like you are recording us. I'm not saying you're recording us. I'm just saying
You just made that statement. It seemed like that. And it makes me really uncomfortable now.
It's because we keep on getting ads from our company, like from our not manager but other managers, basically saying if you see an employee or
Has there been a Wendy's conspiracy with you guys being recorded?
It's a fast food places. If they don't want, it's fast food companies, period, don't want customers to have their phone up like this. It's because they assume.
Right now when you were
I'm not assuming that you're recording us.
that's what it sounded like, Nicholas.
I'm not
Nicholas,
assuming,
right?
Yes, I'm not assuming you're recording us. It's just the company. It's basically tells us if you see.
All right, I gotta finish my phone call, but can I finish my order with you, please?
Yes, I'm saying it. I'm not assuming you. It's the company's policy. If you see a customer like that.
Honestly, this
I'm
is like,
sorry.
it's like the 5th time that I have a bad experience here.
It's just because the fast food places are basically told us, even when we're doing like the interview, like the camera thing, like the stuff on the field, it basically told us if you see a customer holding a phone like what they've been recording you, please tell them to stop. I'm not saying you're recording them. It's just how it is.
They told you if they hold it in a certain way?
Yes.
Oh, Wendy's needs to change its policy.
It's not just Wendy's.
That's-
It's every fast food place.
That's not a sound policy, though.
It's every fast food place. I know it's stupid, but it's
Yeah,
every
it doesn't
fast food
make-
places.
It presupposes that you know what somebody is doing, especially like when I'm on FaceTime talking to
No,
my...
I'm sorry, but it's just every fast. If you go to
I don't
any-
need your apology.
Yeah, if
Well, I
you go
got
to
it.
any fast food places, they'll basically do the same thing.
I thought that it might have been because I've been here and I've been treated very poorly
No.
every time I come
No.
here. So
No, it's not that. It's just
It's-
because of the phone wise. It's just because of how the phone really. It's how you like holding this. It's like so heavy holding your phone in some ways. It's not that you being just good. It's not nothing like that. It just basically said, hey, if you see a customer holding your phone like this, even not even FaceTime wise, the customer.
you have to be studying really hard though.
It's
what
just because
somebody's
it's like
doing.
really hard to explain this clearly.
Yeah, it's
It's
a
just
basic
because
policy.
they basically said if you see a customer like this.
Well, I'm running out of time now. Can I finish my order? I get it, Nicholas.
Yeah,
Thanks for trying to explain it,
Yeah,
but
I'm sorry, but it just.
yeah.
So what was it? Because I had to wait in my manager to get to it.
The BLT
The sandwich?
with no mayonnaise. Yes, the crispy chicken BLT.
No, just a sandwich or the big bag?
Just a sandwich for the what?
Just a sandwich or the biggie bag? Because the biggie bag is $8.
Oh no, just a sandwich.
Just a sandwich, so the crispy chicken BLT.
And a.
With
I want
no-
to get a small fry instead of a medium with just no salt free.
Fries, no sauce.
Yeah.
So just a sandwich and the fries?
Yes, please.
Give me 1 quick second.
That's the entity that's monitoring. P.O.C. By the way, that's mentally ill behavior. They're being diagnosed while they're lying and misrepresenting facts and their knowledge and trying to make up illogical, unsound policies. Right? This is abusing.
I'm just waiting for you to
Oh,
finish.
okay.
It's because it's in the office. So
Oh, no problem. Can you add on an apple crumble frosty fusion?
I'll just make it. Yes, I have the DoorDash card. Yes. For the cover? Would you like the apple?
Receipt, please. Yes.
Yes. Would you like the apple piece? Medium, small, medium, large.
Oh, a small will be fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
And again, I'm sorry about the.
Thank you, Nicholas. I understand you
No,
trying to explain
this
it.
one's actually ours. This
Oh,
one's
okay.
actually ours.
Oh, okay. There's another receipt that does have the Wendy's receipt. This is the EBT receipt. You don't have that one?
I gave you the EBT one.
This is the EBT one.
Yes.
I usually get a Wendy's receipt too, though. Thank you very much, sir.
I didn't do anything. What's up, basically chocolate or vanilla?
Vanilla. Alrighty, you are making so many assumptions when you first try to tell someone what they can and cannot do in what is supposedly a venue, like a fast food restaurant, where you're literally on the phone taking. There's so many things you could be doing, like talking to somebody on the phone and FaceTiming, like I stated, and getting what they want. What you want from the order, right? You're assuming so much. You're paying so close attention, and you're making very specific assumptions. And of course, they're doing that in the environment where the fake sun is present, where the people are stalking with light, where the entity is engaging in the surveillance system, like I've been showing. And then you hear that struggle that Nicholas just had, trying to reconcile why Wendy's would come up with some nonsensical policy like that that doesn't make any sense. Because it presupposes that you know what they're doing on their phone, and you're going to have a problem. Thank you. You're going to have a problem when you engage in that. All right? This entity is engaging in what is stalking with the customers who are engaging in the same thing, holding their phones. Okay? And that's literally all that you're doing. It's not based on the direction you're holding your phone, not looking up at you. You're making all manner of what is unreasonable assumptions when I'm doing the same thing that they do, disregarding, acting like you're not there. I'm not concerned about you, not talking about you, so that means I'm not stalking you. But they don't apply that same logic when I am doing the exact same thing, merely in custody on my phone, looking down at it, not holding it up on your face either, and the entity's engaging in what is making that assumption, okay? That's the evidence that's used to diagnose psychopathic disorders, because they are engaged in hovering, psychotic level of stalking. Literally, you can see my hand with 4 shadows while you're talking about, the company. When you are able to literally get on Wendy's online and engage in what is making orders and at these fast food restaurants as well, and coming and picking them up, you're assuming so much. But this is the entity that's engaged in the P.O.C. This is the entity that, again, is being documented for the psychotic pattern of conduct. And the entity presupposes, and this is typically what happens when you are not armed with evidence, gang violence prevails. So they all say that you're stalking. They all say that you're mentally ill. They all say that you're in the wrong, regardless of how illogical something like that is. Okay, but for this entity being bullied by evidence proving in the fact, this is an entity that is very much engaged in typically getting away with this sort of, what I'm showing is absolute nonsense. That's garbage. That's not a policy. That's not a rule. It's not a thing. They're using their communication devices for surveillance throughout the entire state. They're stalking with their phones at the gas station, at the gas pump, in the grocery store while you're supposedly shopping, pushing the cart, taking your kids into the library, staring at their phones, okay? This is the entity engaging in that, and while I do the exact same thing, the entity is making rolls up at the drop of a dime, okay? This is the P.O.C. under all circumstances. I'm just giving common sense. This is the entity that's monitoring. All right, this is P.O.C. It is currently. I just want to make an announcement. This is clear. My evidence already establishes this.
But the entity that's engaging in the pattern of conduct, like what you hear in the background music, this music is absolutely irrelevant. What it is legally relevant for is audible activity and engineer light. The content, the substance of it, nobody cares about the singer. The singer is probably a gang stalking demon for all I care. This is the entity that's engaging in audible activity creation. Nothing about anything, any song, anything that the entity plays in the background to monitor its criminal activity. All right, there is no copyright infringement with regard to the entity that will also engage in playing music as a means of seeking to obstruct justice. That's not going to work either. But I want to be clear, the entity that is engaging in what is the platform, Spotify, that has not engaged in the criminal act that YouTube has with regard to providing a platform and not seeking to obstruct the ability to voice what is an injustice, and also understanding that this isn't, first of all, it is fair use, okay? But I just want to be clear, the pattern of conduct and what it is that I've exposed about the U.S. government, about the United States, the entity, this is going to be recognized under federal law, and it's not copyright infringement. Whatever is in the background, it's relevant to the element of criminal activity, audible noise. Okay, even when it is music, nobody cares. That's the last thing that anyone's concerned about, and that is clear on its face, and it's also evident in substance of the P.O.C. All right, so I want to make that disclaimer. This has already been the case. I've already established that, but I just want to go ahead and address it. This is entirely fair use, so while you hear this music in the background, it is no basis to remove the evidence, and I'm going to prosecute YouTube for this as well. This is clear with regard to the entity that has engaged in what is any means that they can to intrude on this investigation, excluding my evidence on the basis, oh, there's a song that you can hear. Nobody cares about that song, and that is evident. And YouTube is not interested in protecting the little guy. YouTube is not interested in your free speech. YouTube is not interested, Google is not interested in protecting people whose lives are under threat, as I have clearly shown that on my YouTube channel. Okay, that is a frivolous and superficial guise for what is seeking to obstruct justice, limiting my evidence in any way that can be seen. But I just want to be clear, that's not it either. I'm going to prosecute YouTube for what they've engaged in. It has not stopped this investigation. In fact, it is a part of the criminal activity that I'm subject to. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:48 p.m. The entity is engaged in the pattern of conduct, and I want you to look at this. This is suspect. He just gave this to me. Nicholas, can I ask a question? I just looked at this right now. Is there a reason why it looks like that?
Oh, because I swirled.
Can I get something else without any swirl in it? It looks a little. I'm just not comfortable looking. It just looks like it was tampered with or something.
No, if you have a machine that they say swirl. If not, then the crumble for the apples are just going to be sitting on top. I just did it so everybody you actually get like a.
Is it possible just because can you make another one, please? I haven't eaten out of it or anything, but it just looks like it was.
Yeah, sure,
it literally looks like somebody put something in it. Hi, thank you, by the way. Yeah, thank you. That looks so much more better. Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah.
Okay, are you ready for Andrew?
All right, and this is what I have now. I don't know what that
Andrew
was.
and what are those
This is
U69?
okay, they've closed on this part of the cafe. I just want to be clear, this is the entity that does that where they know that I sit over here in order to be forced to sit around the vagina monitors that are stalking. Okay, this is the P.O.C. And I just want to be clear, the entity is engaged in tampering with the food. That's why I requested another one, and I watched him prepare it. I'm going to show you the engineer light that they're stalking in while they sit at the Wendy's, where the entity intentionally is targeting also by cutting off where you've already seen where I sit, right over here. This is the P.O.C.
I'll take it.
Alrighty, this is the entity that is engaged in monitoring. Cutting off that side of this is a tiny little this is a tiny area over here. They act like it's some gigantic. It's not about what they can do with their restaurant. Like, it's, for example, like what gang stalkers will say, it's your apartment, it's your house. You're not able to gang stalk in your home. You're not able to gang stalk at the restaurant. This is the entity that engages in that sort of logic. That's not logic. That's corruption, and you're going to learn when you are committed. All right. This is an entity that's engaged in that, though. This is Engineer Light. This is the entity that closed off the part of the cafe where I always sit. I don't want to sit by the bathroom. I don't want to sit by the demons that are pacing in and out of the entrance. That's why they have me over here with regard to psychopathic pacing. Okay. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 9:51 p.m. All right. Stalking me with light in concert with GL Partners. That's Ontario Town Square. License plate. This is mental illness. License 6, Kelly, I can't really see that one. License 455-46 Larry 4. Okay. GL Partners is stalking me with light. That's GL Partners is going to be federally prosecuted as a corporation engaging in psychological torture. Corporations engage in psychological torture in concert with the government, and corporations commit that in furtherance of the criminal conspiracy to murder you while they maintain a corrupt business and profit from your demise. Okay, that's the P.O.C. It is currently 10:07 p.m. Stalking in the City Hall parking lot. 9VB1917, I believe. Can't really see that. It's City Hall, John Stewart Company, and just sitting in front of the parking garage. This is what they do also, stalking in the path while I'm at the Obit Family Community Library. That side that I stand under, they stalk right here at the John Stewart parking lot garage, where the entity is stalking as I'm walking back toward that library. That's also where the military is stalking. The Ontario Police are stalking by planes and helicopter, stalking right here at this venue. Okay, this is the entity that's doing so right here. Okay, this is indeed third-party conduct while they maintain drones. That's light activity while stalking in the sky space. The entity that has legalized drones by guess who? For the gang stalking purposes of the people of the state. That's why things like drones are legalized. That's why they are engaged in surveillance. And that's put in perspective with regard to a mentally ill population, keeping your children's genitalia under surveillance, okay? That's the entity that is stalking and doing so. The elderly, they're going without any HUD housing. You're not getting any HUD housing. We're not housing this. This is going to be outside on the street where everybody is more protected. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 10:15 p.m. All right, 10:53 p.m. The video documentation I just captured and the people of the state that are stalking. The entity resumes helicopter activity audibly while they listen to. That's also evidence of surveillance online and on devices. This is P.O.C. By the way, Nicholas that's at Wendy's, he's going to prison. So is Skyly. That's engaged with the pattern conduct. These are the Wendy's employees that are going to prison while that entity is gang stalking. The unintelligent third parties are making up rules about using your phone while you know exactly what I'm doing on my phone while the government is monitoring through Wendy's, with Wendy's. Wendy's that's being prosecuted, you're being prosecuted for this, Wendy's, and this is your service of process. So just so that you know, you're being served and given notice through this prosecution where the entity is engaging in surveillance on devices, on the internet, and you are being federally prosecuted for conspiring murder as a corrupt corporation while your employees and your customers and the government and the establishment itself is the crime scene. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 10:54 p.m. where the entity is engaged in psychopathic pacing, flying over the top of my head. As you saw them flying what is east over my head, they just engaged in what is flying west over my head, and they're doing so while they are monitoring on Ontario Wi-Fi. Okay, that's the entity that's engaged in surveillance as a means of what is public corruption. Everybody's monitoring on the video of the internet as well while the evidence is going online. This is prosecuting what WOODSIDE Senior Apartments, what Frank Nieto is going to prison. Okay, this is P.O.C. Frank Nieto was speaking to what Tracy Banks was doing while I was inside of Unit 51, which is what I spoke to at the outset. This is what the entity is doing with regard to a population who are engaging in that pattern of crime. I want you to see this fat Latina female who is gang stalking right now, staring at her device.
All right, she's monitoring. She's got her device in hand. She's stalking while the entity's flying over the top of my head by helicopter, and her prop is a dog. Like it matters, you can hold a newborn baby while you are stalking. There is absolutely nothing that is relevant, but this is what the people of the state do. I'm walking a dog, and that is how the entity engages in what's supposed to be an argument to defame somebody else. It's not working here. But this is showing you how asinine, how corrupt the government is. That is no evidence to criminally defame anybody because you have a dog and because you don't refer to the target individual while you are very much engaged in stalking them. The entity that has engaged in that is the entity that is engaging in the surveillance system, and they do so as a matter of public corruption. They're taking turns, one demon after another, walking their dogs, walking through. They're engaging in the pattern of conduct with the government that's pacing by helicopter and pacing on the ground while the evidence is being published online. This is that suicidal population. You know their names. Their name is, for example, up in public library, Brianna, Laura, Kiki, Anthony, Alan, Adam, Tuckerman, Marty, Joy. The entity that is engaging in the pattern of conduct with Alyssa. Well, there's two Alyssas. And the entity that's engaging in this pattern of conduct, in other words, by all the employees at Upland, that's the same mentally ill population. They systematically engage in that. You know them at the Ontario Ovid Family Community Library. Mickey, Dylan that wears a Securitas uniform, stalking the same. Alexander, Alex. These demons that are gang stalking Yesenia, and there's two Yesenias at Ovid Family Community Library. Alan that works in IT gang stalking. The entity that's gang stalking as the city employees, the municipality employees. Kevin that commits a battery with this entity they're going to prison. You know who these people are. The people of the state that live in the housing community around, they're all being prosecuted, and they are all going to be subject to martial law. They don't have any rights. They will not be just walking outside anymore. This is the entity that, with the constitutional rights that they exploited, they engaged in terrorism with it. And the federal government, the legitimate federal government, this is not the government. These are terrorists. These are not even humans. They're demon-possessed. They're a demon-possessed entity. This is the Nephilim. These are not humans. That's why they're so stupid. Ask yourself, why are they so stupid to do the same thing over and over and over again? I already proved it, right? Who does that when you know you're going to be in court and everyone's going to see their face? You know why? Because the demon inside of them is just using that person, that vessel. This is the Nephilim. So they're hosting demons. The demon-possessed population are being prosecuted. They're going to be locked down with martial law. They're not going to have any rights. They don't have any rights. And this is speaking to what is a matter of national security. This is what is Amazon Prime. This ongoing psychotic behavior, pacing around, the helicopter activity, getting it on video, doing it, man, so what, whatever, she's going to get it on video. I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway. What sane entity that has any sort of intent to be in a court and act like you're not a barbaric Neanderthal, like you're not an animal, like you don't want to be treated like you're going to be thrown under a prison? Who does that? The Nephilim do that. They're not humans. They're not even humans. This is the P.O.C. This is why they're so fixated on the genitalia of the targeted individual. They're not just sex offenders and perverts. They are the Nephilim. This is the P.O.C. Why do you think a population is so obsessed with me? As I speak with the authority of Christ Jesus, okay? I speak by the power of the Holy Spirit. I speak what the Lord God has revealed to me, and I tell you what I know, and I prove to you what I know with tangible evidence, even to prosecute in a courtroom. Why do you think they're so triggered? Why do you think they're so obsessed with me? This is the Nephilim. These are demons. That's why they're engaging in that conduct. That's why old Mexican women that I don't know, never met, know who I am and are out here in the middle of the night stalking me. Because they're not even humans. They're Nephilim. They're the Nephilim. And it's the entire city. There's no exception. The only exception is me. That's why I'm planted in California, being subject to it. That's why a whole government operation is underway with regard to targeting little old me. A whole helicopter. Did you hear that? A helicopter. What were they doing at Woodside Senior Apartments? Helicopter activity. In the morning, in the evening. A whole fake sun. The environment is centered around me. What do you think? These are not humans. They're demons. This is the Nephilim.
And I'm prosecuting them. I'm prosecuting them. This is why Jason Fields will never be around me. He's not even a human. His perversion, his sexual addiction is based on him being a demon. He's a demon that's engaged in sex with the demons that are literally related to me. I am saved by grace, not demon possessed. Satan cannot possess this vessel, and Satan can't even talk to me. Jason Fields is going to prison if he ever comes around me. This is the entity that stole my intellectual property. You know why? Because they thought that defaming my character would cause you to not listen to the message that Christ wants you to know about. That the Nephilim surround you. Demons surround you. Demons want you to behave like them. Demons want you to believe that Christ is not God. Demons want you to believe that the Bible is not the word of God. Demons want you to believe that there's any way to heaven, that there's no such thing as good or bad. Everything is what you say it is. Everybody has their own truth, and there's all many ways to heaven, and that there's no such thing as hell, and that Satan is not real, and that there's nothing wrong with what you do. You do what you do. You just have a good heart, and you think well, and you intend well, and you manifest your own. Satan wants you to think these things. The Nephilim, the ones that are monitoring, they're surrounding you. The ones that are absurdly psychotic, stalking me in helicopters, want you to think these things. And if you step outside of your ego, you will be able to recognize that you have been conditioned to think the way that you think. You think the way that you think, you've been taught this, and you're speaking the will of the devil, your enemy. You've been deceived. That's if you step out of your ego, because many are going to say, oh no, I think this, and I know this, and I learned this, and then what you know and what you learn, it's not the truth. It's not premised in the Word of God, which is absolute truth. And it is not going to save your life, which is a matter of what is a spiritual reality. Okay. The Nephilim are engaging in what is their service with regard to making sure that you are thoroughly deceived and that you're headed to hell just like them. These are demons that don't have anything to lose. That's why they spend millions of dollars on stalking the targeted individual, who's no average person. They tell on themselves when they worship me like this. They tell on themselves when they engage in the conduct in the face of the evidence going all over the internet. And then they're telling on themselves when they hand over money to me. Avanath Capital Management is going to pay me. Wendy's Corporation is going to pay me. MIG Real Estate is going to pay me. The John Stewart Company, you're going to pay me. The City of Ontario, the State of California, the U.S. government, they're going to pay me. They're paying me. They're going to pay me. This is the entity that engages in that. And they tell you about the truth that I speak while they stalk me so heavily. It makes no sense why they're stalking. I'm not one of them. I'm not one of them. They wouldn't be stalking me if I was. They're not stalking and monitoring those that they already have under control. They're targeting those that they cannot control. And they're targeting one that is here to, I'm putting them to rest. They're getting locked down and they're not going anywhere. And that's if they survive. Okay? I'm not wishing death on anyone, but these are dead people. These people are dead. They're already dead. So you're talking about witchcraft that works on them, death magic that works on them, voodoo that's effective on them. Those demons are going to hunt them out and find them, hunt them down and take their lives. This is the entity that's engaging in criminal activity. I'm dragging the demons into the 3D because I'm prosecuting them here in the physical so that you know what is going on. It is indeed spiritual warfare, but this is no spiritual warfare. These are demons that are exposed. You already lost. Satan's supposed to be working in the shadows. Satan's supposed to be a matter of a figment of somebody's imagination so that Satan can depict you as being mentally ill. None of that's happening. You are all looking in HD, okay? Stalkers. And it's the Nephilim. It's the demons. They're not just bad people, they're demons. You're talking about consuming bodily fluids of humans, consuming their feces. You're talking about what is the entity that is engaged in sex with children. You're talking about demons that engage in homosexuality with regard to their spiritual practices. Whether or not you understand that sexual activity is very much a spiritual act, and the Nephilim want you to behave like them, engaging in homosexual activity. while they call it in the physical LGBTQIA rights, right? These gang members intimidate you into respecting and speaking highly about that which is demonic. Those are demons. Those are demons. In the United States, you have a freedom of speech right. That's fine. Okay. But we're going to get to the truth of the matter. Those are demons. Those are demons. They're engaging in what is gang violence through politicizing their satanic practices, such as homosexuality. Ask the military. That's why they do that. And it doesn't work on a child of God. Your gay sex rituals do not work. That's why you're walking around with HIV. And I'm telling on you because it's not working. And if you were sane, you would have known that. I'm not even in the bedroom, honey. I don't care about anything that you have going on. I would never touch you with a 50-foot pole. It's all in your mind. Your sick, twisted mind that Satan has a hold of. But Satan's not touching me. Satan's touching all of them. And they've all been touched with incurable STDs. Okay, this is the entity that's engaging in a pattern of conduct and stalking by helicopter is the entity's engagement in what is monitoring on devices, monitoring pursuant to knowledge of what it is that I'm doing while they violate privacy rights that you have on your device. The police don't have to come and take your phone and search it and touch it. Those are demons that are engaging in an illusion as though they have to touch your phone. They have to get a warrant in order to know what's inside of it. You're under surveillance. They know what's in your cell phone. They know what you're looking at. They already know. Okay. This is the entity that's engaging in. You're stalking me by helicopters, but yet you think that the LAPD is actually investigating a child rape case 25 miles from here. You think that they're investigating something while the fake son remains over me and the Miami-Dade Police Department has to investigate the mafia out in, like they don't know what's going on. They're all engaged in surveillance. Demons. Everything under the fake sun is a matter of public information. Look up in the sky. Everything under the fake sun. The entity's providing this evidence while they are obsessively consumed with monitoring me, even if they die trying. Those aren't humans. Those are demons. That's the Nephilim. And they're dying trying. They're dying trying. This is the entity that's willing to die gang stalking me till their last breath. And I'm outliving them all. They are going to expire because they thought that they had the authority to take my life, and it's not me. So you finish the rest of that thought, because that's how there are rules to this. There's levels and rules to it. I don't wish any evil on anyone, but these are unrepentant demons. So the way that this goes is that you have no protection. And that spiritual work that you put out, it's attacking you. That's also why you're witnessing them have psychotic breaks. That's a psychotic break when you're stalking in a helicopter. In the face of evidence, and I'm going to put it on the internet. While you're stalking me in plain view, I don't care that you get it on video, that you get me stalking. I'm gonna walk right in front of you with my cell phone, stalk you right in your face, in the face of consequences. They're paying very severe consequences. That's a psychotic break. When you're listening to the entity stalking me at Wendy's, because that's what they're doing, and then you hear what Nicholas said about, he was struggling. He was backpedaling big time, trying to make sense of the assumption that he made. But it's not an assumption. It's a conclusion that he made based on knowledge. But it's not reasonable because there's no reason for him but for monitoring, which you know that he is, with the entity that's stalking me by helicopter. And you're going to listen to that, though. That's the effort to lie and misrepresent who you are, what you're doing, and how and why you're saying what you're saying. That's psychopathic. They're going to be committed. Wendy's is going to pay me. This is the pattern of conduct. Corporations, every single last business every establishment, every business in California is engaged in surveilling me. The entity is engaging what is monitoring me and surveilling me on the internet. The entity is engaging, this is not about money, but I want to let you know now, this entity is going to pay me, and it is an unprecedented, astounding level of compensation for what the government is doing, and the government hands it over to me because these are demons. So they are not logical. While they are willing to die monitoring me and willing to go to prison caught in the act, just because they want to keep monitoring me, they're going to pay me for that. Okay, this is a level of damages that's never even been contemplated under federal law, because it's never been proven that a whole government and a population is engaging in surveilling you in absurdly and psychopathic and sexually perverted ways. You're going to pay for that. There's a level of monetary restoration that you shall fulfill for doing that, on top of what this entity stole from me. This is the entity that thought that they could defame my character because they assumed that my evidence, this intellectual property that you're listening to, was stolen by demons that are on YouTube right now. You can look at them, and you're looking at them mock and mimic my evidence, the P.O.C. And they're making money doing it. They got popular off of monitoring me. You're being prosecuted. You who are engaging in that, you are being prosecuted, because I just want to be clear, you can't secretly engage in that, because by virtue of your popularity, everybody knows who you are, and so do the feds. I'm prosecuting you. You threaten my life while you do that. This is what the entity was trying to suppress me. This is like holding my head under the water, trying to drown me, take my life, while everybody else is afloat on my work, my creativity, my evidence, while the demons stalking me in helicopters are trying to murder me. While demons like Tracy Banks and Jason Fields leading in gay sex rituals, which they're in their psychotic, demented, deranged minds, they believe gives them spiritual authority so that they can magically stalk and lie on my character, and everybody's going to be under the spell and believe it. Even while I give you tangible evidence showing how, look, they're stalking. That's the P.O.C. This is the entity following from place to place. That is clearly not the sun. This is not the natural environment. In the face of that tangible evidence, they thought that they were going to be magical enough, and everybody was under a spell, and you were just going to believe that. The reason why they actually thought that is because they are actually mentally ill. The ones that are practicing medicine are mentally ill. The ones that are working in the hospitals, the ones that are engaging in the pattern of conduct, the ones that call themselves diagnosing in California. I want to be clear. The mentally ill, they work for law enforcement, they work in the legal profession, they work in the hospitals, they work in the medical profession. That's what's stalking in a helicopter. That's the entity. They're in every area of society. They're the ones that are gang stalking as well. They're the ones that are pushing drugs on you. They're the ones that are telling you this is your diagnosis and this is what you need to do. Just to be clear, they're the ones that call themselves heroes for nursing. Those nurses are engaged in psychopathic behavior. They're engaged in psychological torture while they put on scrubs. And they're pacing under things like a fake sun and engineer light fills that hospital. That's the entity that's engaged in that. I just want to make sure that that's clear. The entity is going to pay me while the Nephilim, they sacrifice themselves, while they are indeed mentally ill. And that's the entity that engaged in criminal activity that is engaging in what is psychologically torturous to themselves. They are the ones who are tortured. They are the ones who are tormented. They are the ones who are triggered. They are the ones who are having psychotic breaks. And I always document it because I am prosecuting with tangible evidence, not with hearsay, not with, by hearsay I mean, because hearsay has a legal definition, it's that which is occurring outside of a courtroom. This is the court though. And an American citizen had to undertake this task because the court is corrupt. Okay, so you're talking about where the government is the criminal. We're taking the legal profession, we're taking these laws and we're putting them into proper context because the court is corrupt. The court abuses the California rules of court. The court abuses and disregards the First Amendment. The court abuses what is its authority and uses it and facilitates the pattern of conduct. So the one that's subject to the criminal activity, the one that also happens to be knowledgeable and trained in the law, is the one that'll go ahead and handle that federal prosecution. And I'll also publicly expose it. I'll publish it to show what is an unbiased and dispassionate, non-emotional, public investigation. Facts are what rule here. It's a fact that the entity is stalking me by helicopter. It's also a fact that you're a weirdo, all right? That you're clearly a loser, all right? But I keep my personal opinion out of it. I do give my commentary. I'm human, and this is also relevant for informing the masses. But the investigation is there, and it is fact-based. It's fact-based, and it's directly contending with the lies that were stated about my character. Everybody that uttered those lies did so pursuant to the pattern of conduct, pursuant to the ongoing criminal conspiracy to commit murder. Now, when they engaged in lying on my character, and then you are listening to the evidence of the entity stalking me by helicopter, stalking me, monitoring my devices, monitoring my vagina, stalking me from place to place, keeping me under surveillance in apartment buildings, keeping me under surveillance in libraries, keeping me under surveillance while I'm walking up and down the street, doing so in an environment that is conducive to surveillance. That's the entity that lied about my character, put it on paper so that we all know who those liars are, we know what their professions are, we know what their positions are, and we know the criminal purpose behind those lies. The way that they tried to strategically utilize their positions in order to do so. And the helicopter activity is putting them in prison. They did not coincidentally or ignorantly engage in what is just accidentally defaming my character, because there is no accident. You cannot confuse me with somebody who's mentally ill. You can't even get me confused with that. And remember, the entity did it over and over and over and over and over again. The entity engaged in what is kidnapping me on July 13, 2026, just so that they could strip me nude and engage in sexual assault. This is what Delgado did at San Bernardino County. Remember that? She's going to prison. That lesbian's going to federal prison for wanting to look at my anus. She wanted to bend over so she could see my tampon. And remember, you're not dealing with just one person. You're dealing with an entity. So all the demons, this demon-possessed person represents a legion. So Jason Fields got to look at my anus. Tracy Banks, an incestuous lesbian who was related to me, obsessed with my vagina, got to look at my anus. Okay? The demons that are in the jail, gang stalking, all the males and the females, they're all demons, but they are under the guise of men and women. They all got to look at my anus, while Delgado instructed me on how to take my clothes off when I should have been going to general population. But the entity wants to, just for funsies, because they're sexually aroused by defaming my character. Satan loves to just engage in what is entertaining. Oh, I just love the ability to just call Erica Spencer, who I worship. I love to be able to call her mentally ill, so I'm going to force her to put this uniform on while we kidnap her under what is a fictitious warrant that's not even legitimate. All right? Because we just want to do it one good time. It sexually arouses them. That's how much they love defaming my character. The entity does this so that they can strip me nude and put me in the uniform of their choice outside of the policies of how a jailing system even operates, pursuant to kidnapping when I'm not even lawfully there, regarding fictitious authority that you exercise in order to do so, while you're stalking me, just like this. Nobody that's stalking has any warrant or probable cause. They never commit a lawful arrest, even if I was a criminal. This is why you don't engage in corruption like this, because you are then engaged in what is fruit of the poisonous tree. How do you know that that person committed that crime? Unfortunately, you're stalking, so we can't even use that in a courtroom to prosecute this criminal. Thanks a lot. Those are the casualties of a corrupt government that doesn't have authority. But that's not even what they have here. The entity is stalking by helicopter. Then you commit a kidnapping. And then you claim you have a warrant pursuant to those kidnappings. And then you have a warrant, the agency that is stalking under a fake sun. And all the agencies go to West Valley so they can pace under a fake sun while they worship me, wearing police uniforms, wearing the uniforms of the San Bernardino County Sheriff. And they engage in what is defaming my character. That entire agency is being shut down. And they wanted to see me bent over. They wanted to see my anus. They wanted to spread my bottom cheeks apart. I'm just telling you what they did. Okay? That's what they did. Sexual assault and battery. Delgado's going down as a violent sex offender. She's going to prison. And she committed that sex act on behalf of the military. She committed that sex act in concert with the Ontario Police Department. She committed that sex act in concert with everybody that's related to me, including the demon Eric Spencer. He's an incestuous sex offender. Jason Fields, he's a rapist. He's a sex offender. He's a stalker. All the demons, this gang stalking Mexican female out here. And I'm just speaking to her race because you're talking about what is a plethora of races and ethnicities, meaning every single last one of them. Do not be deceived by whatever their race is. If this lily white woman, okay, the Latina, the Chinese, or Asian, whatever, you're talking about the Asian race, period. The black demons that are gang stalking, black as asphalt. Okay? They're all monitoring. Every single last one of them. That's why I'm talking about the Mexican or the Latina, because she's not necessarily Mexican. The Latina that's gang stalking in the middle of the night with a dog. That's a prop. You can walk outside with nothing. You're monitoring. You're stalking. Literally, in concert with the entity that's flying over my head by helicopter. That's why I'm honing in on the race, because they're all races. They're all in California, one entity. They don't have a race. This is an entity. Now, I have labored to prove that and demonstrate that for you and make sure that you understand that. All right? The entity is engaging in this, and the entity engaged in what is wanting to share in sexual assault and battery. Okay? The homosexuals that are infected with HIV, the lesbian that's engaged in what is married to Jason Fields, they're all obsessed with my vagina. And Delgado engages in what is sexual assault as an entity, the legion of demons that wanted to instruct how I even take my clothes off, treated me differently than everybody else in the jail, in order to watch me strip and watch me and subject me to what is a strip search, as though I was arrested for some sort of violent crime or something, for drugs, or while you even engaged in any sort of legal arrest in the first place. This is why you have what is Anthony Rodriguez. He's going to prison. So is Hadel Shiapani. They engaged in what is sexual assault and battery with Delgado at West Valley Detention Center. He's going to prison. Edgar at Stater Brothers, he's going to prison for sexual assault and battery. You wanted to look at my anus. You wanted to see me spread my bottom apart so you can look at my body. This is the entity of sex offenders. I'm going to spell this out to you because you need to know the ugliness that is stalking me in a helicopter in the middle of the night. This is what they're doing on July 13, 2026. That's not a sheriff's department. That's not the legitimate policies regarding the ongoing jailing system, while you're engaged in kidnapping somebody, and then the target individual is the one you want to strip search. The targeted individual, you don't even have any legitimacy, and you're putting them in the mental ward area, even if it's just for 12 hours. At least we get to spend that 12 hours with her. We get to listen to her breathe. We get to watch her strip down. I get to watch her bend over. I get to watch her and her body parts. I get to see her breast. I get to see her waistline. This is the entity that's obsessed with me and is sexually obsessed with me, is monitoring my devices, is stalking me from place to place, and is doing so while wearing department uniforms. Stacy Dykes, you do not have a job, sir. You're a violent sex offender. You engaged in what is eyeing my vagina on July 13, 2026, and you're losing your job for it. You're being prosecuted as a sex offender, a terrorist for it. While I'm outside being stalked by helicopters, that's speaking of surveillance that you are engaged in, not any legitimate warrant ever. This is that P.O.C. This is the entity that's engaging in that. David Siegler. This is the entity that's engaging what is defaming your character under the Baker Act. The Baker Act is not legitimate pursuant to a government that's engaging in surveillance. That's not in the fine print of that legislation. While the entity is stalking by helicopters like this, and then you are also at the same time speaking ill on my character, while you are the one that stole my money. I'm sleeping outside. Why? Why do you have demons with poor hygiene saying anything to me as though you have any sort of basis to critique me at all? You can't even spell critique, but let alone critique me at all as to why I'm outside looking at the likes of you gang stalking me? You're the bum, not me. Don't ever forget it. And the entity's engaging in what is a pattern of conduct. Satan cannot bring me down to his level. That's not what this is. This is the Lord God that permitted it so that I can prosecute you. Because the world needs to know that the criminals are in the library, they're in the city hall, they're at the law school, they're at the senior center, they're at the apartment complexes, they're on the roads and the highways, they're in the shopping plaza, in the grocery store, they're in the bathroom, they're in your home. That's why. The entity's engaging in this pattern of conduct, and don't you forget it, this entity that engaged in wanting to engage in that level of stalking and obsession with me, they tell on themselves while they defame my character, and they stole from me. They have lied and said that I'm dead already. Why are you stalking me in a helicopter if you're claiming that I'm dead? Who gave you the insurance policy funds? The insurance companies are monitoring. They're gang stalking corporations. Who cashed out that insurance policy when I'm not dead? They know that. Huh? This is the entity that's engaging in that level of a criminal pattern of conduct. You're going to prison. I mean, the demons gang stalking from the police to the demons gang stalking at the immigration office on F Street and Lemon. I'm federally prosecuting you. You violate the rules. You're going to prison. Okay, this is the entity that's engaging in that P.O.C. And that's just an example, meaning there's no hierarchy amongst them. They're all vagina monitors. They're demons. They're criminals. And they're sex offenders that are obsessed with me in every regard. That obsession is a criminal threat. And they're willing to die. They have died and they're going to continue to die monitoring me. That's the entity that's going to be subject to martial law. That's the entity that's going to be invaded with tanks. And vehicles are going to be treated like the terrorists that they are. You see in third world countries, it's essentially going to be a civil war because the feds are going to invade this entity. And you don't have any rights. That's what's coming. This is the P.O.C. It's currently 11:25 p.m. The entity is monitoring while I am on the venue of the internet where they are engaged in surveillance Ontario Wi-Fi. And the entity is willing to risk prison. The people of the state are willing to risk all of that in order to monitor me. That's how much they worship me. This is the entity that committed kidnapping together. All of the people of the state, every corporate actor, Amazon, all of them committed kidnapping together. You're going to compensate me for that. You're going to pay me. There is no formula to calculate that. Oh, but we're going to figure it out, though. And it's something close to you probably not existing as a company anymore because you cannot quantify what are the harms. Regardless of the fact that I maintain a prosecution, I'm no less entitled to justice. That's not what that means. That means I'm gathering the evidence and having the ability to demand justice on my terms, justice that will establish precedent in the United States. This is the P.O.C. It's currently 11:26 p.m. This is the entity that's engaging in all of that pattern of conduct. Every time the entity is stalking me by helicopter at the Upland Library on Euclid Avenue, at the Ovid Family Community Library, doing so while I publish evidence online. You just remember demons like Delgado who commit kidnapping and Shannon Dykes' job. His neck is on the line. You're not being quietly removed like Mike Lorenz thought that he did. He didn't. It's not over, sir. You can call yourself, this is the entity that's been engaging in what is very slowly moving. While I'm sleeping outside, and the entity's been engaged in what is damaging my property, stealing my property, engaged in what is trying to hide evidence, ruin, destroy evidence, spend my money, damage my property, engaging in what is harming me, trying to poison, still trying to kill me, stalk and psychologically torture me, kidnap me, obstruct justice, harass me, and engaging in this while this entity thinks that they're going to do things like Mike Lorenz just be quietly removed from position, hire another police chief, hire other employees at Starbucks, ship them to another county. What you can do whatever it is that you think you're going to do, whatever makes you feel comfortable. Because I'm telling you right now, the long arm of the law knows who you are, where you're going, and you're going to prison like I said you are. You're not getting any money. You can spend it however you want. Guess what? You're not keeping it. You call yourself investing it, you're not keeping it. You are not escaping justice. You shall not escape justice. This is an entity that's engaging in that. Derek Williams has been retired from the Ontario Police for years. I just want to be clear, it's going to be even more painful for someone like that because he's really convinced that he's holding on to what he retired with. Like that's your property. Like it's not. This is literally paying them to engage in what is criminal activity that the department is still engaging in. While I've been being gang stalked the entire time, still. When I say you are fired, you're not retiring with any 401k, any retirement, you're not getting any benefits, you're going to be outside on the street just like you wanted to target an individual, actually. That's what's happening. You're a terrorist. Terrorists don't get retirement benefits. They don't get any sort of 401k. They don't get any package upon being relieved as from their duties for terrorism. You're not getting that. And I mean that. That's entirely un-American. It's absurd. You can call yourself patting yourself all you want, securing yourself all you want. It's not going. I'm coming for you. The law is coming for you. It is absolutely necessary. Nothing less is going to be the case. As clear as you hear my voice, as clear as you heard that helicopter activity, as clear as day as you see this fake sun remaining over me, you're going to pay the consequences. You who are sitting at the top of that department, at the top of that company, you're going to pay your dues, criminally and civilly. You're going to compensate. You're going to pay the penalties for it. You're not escaping it. I know you think you are, because you're making me, I'm still sleeping outside while you think you've retired and you done moved to an island somewhere. And listen, you're going to pay the penalties. You're not escaping anything. It's a matter, it will be absolutely executed. It is a priority. This is the pattern of conduct. It is currently 11:30 p.m. This is the entity that's engaged in the P.O.C. while they are monitoring on Ontario Wi-Fi, where the entity is engaging in surveillance, which is also resulting in what is simultaneous criminal activity, stalking, harassment, psychological torture by targeting by helicopter, which is shared by that population, the mentally ill population, who are going to be raided by feds that are going to use tanks amongst they have shown themselves to be mentally ill, and they are not prepared. The people of the state are not prepared for what is going to come against them, for what they've shown themselves to be. They don't. And that's because they're focused on me. This is the Nephilim. These are demons. These aren't humans. And they're not thinking about that. But they will be wanting to be on, oh my gosh, help me. Oh my. No one is confused about what you are. You have set up what is your own downfall. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 11:31 p.m.